don't know.
Negotiate.
That's something to look
I
into.
think it's a program.
Yeah, I mean, to have more than one source.
Instagram, Facebook. What's that program? What's that program people got? They can go to YouTube, Facebook.
People actually use Zoom.
They're using the
page Zoom. You go to Facebook and YouTube, or they go through that thing you talking about. But Zoom is like, son, I don't use Zoom.
They use Zoom.
The other one you talking about?
Oh, okay.
I forgot what it's called, but they use Zoom too. You have Zoom.
Okay, I got
you. You can do it on Zoom. You just gotta turn it on. Especially if you get a page.
You got page Zoom too?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just gotta turn that on. It's actually a little easier than the other thing. The other thing got like the way you can put the little captions and show its comments. I think.
So I mean, so it's the question is more of how would it send? So like this camera is sending to YouTube. You know what I mean?
Well,
it should be something that would make it where I can send it to. I can go live on multiple platforms. With this.
Well, when you do Zoom, it's already live, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you click a button on Zoom, which sends it to YouTube and Facebook.
Right, yeah. but most of them won't allow you on one system unless it's something specific.
Yeah, one system.
Okay.
I'm saying it's like one button.
Yeah, because I think
and you link your accounts.
Oh yeah.
It's not like you got to pick up multiple encoders or nothing like that. It's just, you just use Zoom. People using Zoom for YouTube now because YouTube is requiring an encoder you to use that encoder now. And it is easier to use Zoom than it is the encoder.
Okay. I'm gonna look into it.
What's that free open broadcast encoder? That Facebook is easier.
I seen it on my thing.
That's what I use. OBS.
OBS?
That's what I use.
Yeah.
So I know something with the virtual. It allows you to have a virtual webcam, which that seems like that would be a solution to it. I just ain't played with it yet. Mark, from your phone, click the link. Click the link? Alright. I'm gonna get I just need to figure out the delay at this point. Delay always is different, so I gotta figure that out. Peace.
I thought when I saw this,
I'm not actually sure where. Excuse me. Yeah, no, I was asking about. Got the family. Hey, hey. I feel you. I feel you. Oh, but I'm good right long. This all I need.
Can you get a one six put back there? Right here, can you put the mirror? The window. Yo, 1 second. No, leave it there. Leave it there.
It's so strong.
That's yeah. Hold on. Yeah. Hey, what's up? You alright right here?
It's a restaurant right there.
Okay, you fine. He said the restaurant.
Oh, the restaurant right
Oh, you want me to work in? I can slide. Yeah.
Okay, so do I get on that? Brother, you are.
You know, I probably don't even, I just probably you want to plug in? I don't think I need that. What? I think I don't even know.
Yes, she's gonna leave.
People standing up, they want to, and see, they got room in there.
Yeah.
It is nice, it's nice.
Just let them know here.
They done got, we done have too much anyway, they done got rid of.
Come right up.
I'm looking for it. Oh, it's my cousin.
So many of the front pages of America's newspapers with a speech at King College, which so many people called anti-Semitic and
Brother Jabbar.
at the very least racist. You remember the comment? He picked up the Colts dress and let's see what's under that dress. Here's what you said about Colin Ferguson, the man who shot a Jamaican, African black male who shot 6 people on the Long Island train. Mr. Muhammad speaks.
So he could jump on Brother Khallid first. Because they were mad that he didn't catch him the Long Island train and kill all them white folks. I love Khallid first.
You look at 6 people on a commuter train. I must call just as much as the masses of black Americans
Nah, he supposed to roll. Yeah. I ain't talking about it.
General Patton, General MacArthur, and Eisenhower. America awards her killers, and they get ribbons and stripes and bars. I'm sensitive to the pain and suffering of the loss of life on that train. But I'm one of the rebellious ones. And so when black people stand up out of pain and suffering and frustration, I understand after 500 years.
You talk about the response of some African Americans to, for example, the book which attempts to prove that the Jews are involved in the slave trade. You talk to them,
Yeah.
Jews can't defeat you, you said in your speech.
If anybody had any thoughts about any products that on girls themselves,
half baked, half fried, sissified, punkified, pasteurized, homogenized nigger.
I see now that they kept yeah, they had that big on a special bag, you know? Yeah, that's yeah. So champ.
No, everything.
Champ, bro. I see.
Here you are mocking Jesse Jackson at a speech. Leave us how your first.
Who the hell?
Are you an entertainer or are you a committed person to black people?
I'm so glad you asked that question. I believe that the liberation and salvation of the black nation must be brought about by black people gaining a thorough knowledge of self after our 500 to 6,000 year Holocaust, where we have lost over 600 million. And so I believe that that education process must be a process of two steps: inspiration and information. So I seriously give information, but black people are people of rhythm and spirit. So I also give inspiration.
Understated Payne College in 1960. Chief Lafouine at the ANC received the Nobel Peace Prize. He reported to your audience for nonviolent struggle. Just like Mandela just received it with FW de Klerk. How could you stand with your oppressor and your enemy and receive the Nobel Prize for nonviolent struggle? You have, you do not support then Nelson Mandela's strategy in the struggle to free black people in South Africa?
Let us first of all be very clear here, Phil. Nelson Mandela is my brother.
So
He is a
Jesse
member
Jackson.
of the family, and so is Jesse, and Jesse is a very brilliant man. We just want him to return home and stop being used against his people. Now back to Brother Nelson Mandela. And certainly we can never mention Nelson without mentioning Winnie Mandela. But Nelson Mandela's attempt at a multiracial government in South Africa after the murder of men, women, children, and babies, and the rape of South Africa, a criminal settler colony that has been established like Israel there in that part of the world. I cannot go along with one man, one vote. Let me say why. If someone broke into your home, Mr. Donahue, and actually bum rushed your home, and black boots stomped your door down, and came in and robbed and raped everyone in the household, and was able to take the wealth of your home and pawn it into an empire. This is an invader. This is an intruder. This is a murderer. This is a burglar. This is a criminal. So you have no responsibility to share your home with them after they broke in and committed the crimes that they did.
You want we said about South Africa, we give him, that is to say, white people, 24 hours to get out of town by sundown. That's all. If you don't get out of town by sundown, we'll kill every white that ain't right that's in sight in South Africa. We kill the women, we kill the children, we kill the babies, we kill the blind, we kill the crippled, we kill them all. We kill the faggot, we kill the lesbian, we kill them all. You say, why do you have that in South Africa? So we kill the basics. Are you seriously presenting yourself as a man interested in the future of your people with this kind of rhetoric? I'm just confused about it. The freedom of my own.
And I am in the self-determination of the Kuchita self-determination. This is self-defining, self-existing, and self-sustaining. When you show yourself as a people, you cannot deny the undeniable and indisputable and irrefutable truth, fact, proof, and history 27 years and becomes the president, allegedly started a plan behind the scenes to remove the economic sanctions from blacks in South Africa. No real plan for redistribution of the wealth. Behind the De Beers and others, they're sucking the blood of our people. So I said, be merciful. Give them a period of time. Truman gave the Japanese a period of time. But when they didn't comply, he dropped the bomb on men, women, and children. And
What you asking? Yeah. Yeah, you send the link. It should be on the. No, it's not listed on the. Right, because it's unlisted because it was private. I can change that if you want. Miss it.
from what I can see in those privileged to talk to who are close to him, he appears to be very sincere. He appears to be a man who really loves our people there and wants to see our people breathe free and correct the problems that colonialism and other disruptions is very down. I do not want to see my beloved brother, President Aristide, returned to Haiti by the power of a Bill Clinton. Because if Bill Clinton can reaching out and hoping and working for a multiracial community of harmony and peace. Am I correct in saying you can forsake that ideal? Too late now. We face tanks. We face water hoses or cattle prods, vicious dogs, and the rest of life. He just watches other civil rights
First one right here.
four-legged dogs, sicked on us by two-legged dogs, sent into the corn and the private parts of black men, women, and children. So, Mr. Donahue, I believe that the white man is absolutely disagreeable and that no one has been able to get along with him nowhere on the face. And so you continue this rhetoric. You will continue and action. An action. What kind of action? Strategy to affect what in the United States of America? Let's start with us. Battle strategy and battle really get out of the old British pocket kind of environment. You should be proud of this language that you use in high school. The Bible, listen to me for a second. The Bible speaks of lifting up the skirts of the garment. Oh, I'm surprised. According to Neil Shelton, Smith, President Emeritus of Duke University, in his book entitled In His Image, quote, the Catholic Church and the Pope were directly involved in the institution of slavery. They financed slavery and gave the okay that it was good business to sell Africans. Lift up the skirts of his garment so that we can see the shame that has revealed what has been hidden, but has nothing to do with sexuality whatsoever. I believe that it has been poetry on the skirt of the skirt again. I don't know if you're missing what I'm saying. Lifting up the skirt again is the scripture says. To do history, the hidden history. You lift up someone's garments, then you show their shame. You show up their private parts, that which they normally hide from the rest of the world. I'm not dealing with organs under the garment. I'm dealing with the organ of slavery and those parts that have been kept private from the masses of people. Is just one of the comments that provoked the Anti-Defamation League to take out a full-page ad in the New York Times and other newspapers. What the ADF did essentially was publish in the New York Times some of the things that you said. Here's a part. This is an audio tape of part of your speech to King College last November that created such furor. Khallid Muhammad speaking.
Testing, testing. If you can stand, we can open up with libations.
I'd like to call libations before we do all our events. It's our testimony and our day and our supreme salute to our ancestors, to the Most High, to those who come before us, those who have sacrificed for us, those who yet to come. So we pour this first libation to the universal Mother, Father, Creator. We say Ashe.
Ashe.
We pour the second libation to our personal loved ones who have passed, and we can say their names out loud with power. Georgia Ruth Manning.
Ashe.
Here's some of your ancestors. Mary Lewis.
Ashe. 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 Ashe.
Let's call out the names of our heroes and our sheroes, those who led the battle of black liberation. Ashe. Ashe. George Jackson. Ashe. John Henry Clark. Ashe. Lottie Mama. Ashe. Ashe. We pour this last libation back to those unnamed, those lost in the middle passage, and those yet to be born. We say Ashe 3 times.
Ashe. Ashe. Ashe.
Libation is finished.
You continue standing for the African pledge. Repeat after me. Pledge allegiance to my people.
Pledge allegiance to my people.
The African race.
The African race.
The original man.
The original man.
And woman of the earth.
And woman of the earth.
And the founders.
And the founders.
Of civilization.
Civilization.
I pledge to continue the struggle.
I pledge to continue the struggle.
Which will help to bring.
My beloved.
Brothers and sisters. To total freedom.
To total freedom.
I pledge to study and discipline myself.
I pledge to study and discipline myself.
Mentally.
Physically. And spiritually.
So that I may be a soldier.
So that I may be a soldier.
For
justice.
Because my people need strong.
Because my people need strong. And intelligent warriors.
And if I am challenged.
Then I must say.
That I will not surrender.
My position.
Nor my dignity.
But instead.
We shall endure.
We shall endure.
Till the final victory is won.
until the final victory is won.
Ashe, you may be seated. Give yourselves a round of applause for coming out today. We appreciate y'all for coming out for this great event. I must say, Reality Speaks, we've been doing this. It'll be 26 years this year, 26 years that we've been bringing inspirational, informative speeches to our people to help to uplift our people. So we're proud of that we've been doing that for so long. All over the world, people have been buying our lectures, and we streaming even on YouTube. People have been making mad money off our DVD, off our streams for years, for years. You know what I mean? All through YouTube. So, but it's a blessing to be able to be a part of that. You know what I mean? So we've been doing that. Just want to say that we just, like I said, we're happy to host this today. Let me just say this. You know, just from the jump, the whole thing about this event, the Book of Khallid, and we put unity. Why unity is our only solution. And I just want to lay the foundation for that. Number one, to lay the basis for anybody that's joining, for anybody that want to hear this and be like, oh, Reality Speaks is bringing Malik Zulu Shabazz and they trying to start some trouble up with the Nation of Islam and Malik Zulu Shabazz. Let me just say this going forward, just to start off the event, that nobody loves the Nation of Islam more than we love the Nation of Islam at Reality Speaks. We love the Nation of Islam. There's no attack on the nation. I got good friends, good brothers and sisters with the nation. I love them. And I also love Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad, and I love Malik Zulu Shabazz. So I just wanted to lay the foundation for that. There is no, and sometimes things happen within organizations and different things happen, and there's different perspectives. You know what I mean? When I heard Brother Malik speaking about it before, and he was talking about the book, and I'm sitting there like, man, I lived this. Like I remember some of the stuff that he talking about, and it took me back in the day. I'm like, man, I remember a lot of the stuff that he was talking about. So I'm like, man, we got to do something. We got to break, with this book. And I got the book. I didn't finish reading it, but it's a very good book. Some of the brothers in our barbershop have read the book. They love it and say it's a very good read. Not even just for some people just want to read it for the tension what went on with the Nation of Islam, but it's actually laying out the life of Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad, which is worthy. So it's not just I think maybe it covers some of the controversial things about that, but it's a book about his life. So that's what it is. Oh, okay. So, speaking about unity, real quick, this is I'm a little rusty so far as this event thing after this COVID thing. I ain't done an event since last month. I'm rusty so far as even with the promotions for the event. Putting it up back up, but we get back into it. We here with my brother Assad, beautiful T-Nac. Give him a big round of applause for having us here today. His brother's selling books and products, oil, earrings, different things, so we appreciate that, brother, for hosting us here today. As well as, like I said, I just want to talk about the whole unity aspect. And I'm here right now with my good brother Sundiata right now. And let me tell you, look, and it ain't no surprise. Most of y'all know that me and brother Sundiata, we beef for years. For years, we beef and we fuss and we argue, back and forth and not spoken and all those different things. But we had over 10 years to go through that beefing process. You know what I mean? And it's like, people ask, what's up with your man? I don't know what's up with him, man. I don't know. You know what I mean? Back and forth. And, so it's a blessing for us to be able to come back together, you know what I'm saying, and say, hey, look, let's give this another run. That's right. Yeah. And for those who don't know, even the history of me and Brother Sundiata, it's deeper than just the movement and all that stuff. Me and Brother Sundiata was best friends, but prior to the movement, for 17 years, before even getting into any Black Power talk, you know what I mean? So this was the thing that started when we was like in the 7th grade. So in the 7th grade, man, this brother, you know what I'm saying, we met up, and ever since the 7th grade, we was like this. And you wouldn't see one without seeing the other person. That's how the hood got to know, where your boy at? Where your man at? You know what I mean? Where your boy? You know what I mean? And that's how it was for 17 years. Once I got to the movement, then I brought him in and brought him into the whole thing. So we was friends way before this whole thing happened. I remember we was together so much. I remember we was trying out for the Patterson football team. This one particular day, we happened not to be together, and we decided both not to go to practice on that day. So the whole team, like, yeah, they're together. Wherever they at, you know what I mean? Like, so they couldn't wait for them. What happened to y'all two yesterday? The coach waiting for y'all. So when we got to practice that day, The coach made both of us run running back that day. So everybody could hit us, you know what I mean, and punish us because they swore out. We couldn't tell them that we were, no, we really wasn't together that day. But they didn't believe us. So it's, big up the unity and my nephew Rise in the building. You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot of healing going on in our community. And like the big up to my man Hanif that's in the back, and he's been coming through Reality Speaks, been there for years. And I told Hanif, it's just a small event. He said, brother, I just want to come up and be amongst the people, man. I want to get out the house, be amongst the energy. So I'm just coming down, man, just to enjoy the energy. So we appreciate that. Appreciate all of you for coming out. You know what I mean? My clients, you know what I mean? Brother D, I'm in the building. So we appreciate y'all. And with that being said, let me just bring up Brother Sudiata so he can say a few words. We bring Brother Malik up, and we just get this thing rolling. All right?
Let's clap it up one more time for Brother Star. Come before you with the mind state of liberation, coming from a long legacy of battle stars and freedom fighters. I acknowledge my duty to truth and justice as a Reality Speaks representative. Elders, may I have permission to speak?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I'm just honored to be here today, be back in the fold. Like he said, our whole mission is about unified die. Me and this brother come up, and we come up from kids, from youth. When we came into the movement, we had businesses, LLCs, organizations, and so on and so on. So this is a big thing right here for us to be back together. I learned barbering from him. Barbering took me around all of Africa 4 or 5 times throughout the Caribbean. It took me a lot of places. And I'd like to thank this brother right here because we knew we wanted to be black nationalists. We knew we had to be independent. And we was determined to work for ourselves and to use our hands to make money and feed our family and also drop jewels on our community. So as I stand before you today, I'm honored to be amongst so many positive people, and my brother Jabari, who has done a lot for me, and I have done a lot for him. That's a lot of reciprocity there. But we have had a split, and the split was hurtful and painful for a long time. But one thing we can bear witness to is that we came back together. And these are two powerful. You can Google us, our barbershops, what we do in the community, the impact that we have because of the knowledge we have from our scholars, the knowledge we have from Dr. Khallid Muhammad, the knowledge that we have from our ancestors. We make an impact in this city. We make an impact in Baltimore beyond. Since we was 20, we got in this movement at the age of 20. I was at a Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad, first lecture I ever been to was Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad on North Avenue in the old Odell. The first lecture at 20 years old, East Baltimore kid at that lecture. Blew my mind, and I never turned my back since. So that's the power of a Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad. That's the power of having an organization exposing youth, exposing young brothers and sisters to people of that magnitude and with that influence who can help change and curate your thinking, your pattern, your thought pattern to help you become purposeful in your divine nature and in your walk, in your life, in your community. So I want to say this. This is in the spirit of unified die. And that's our campaign right there. We know there's a lot of differences, but we like, look, where we at right now in this world, all we have is us. We can do a lot by ourselves, but we can do much, much more together. Brother Malik, we here in Illinois, but you did what the community asked for our black men to do. You went to school. You got a degree. You became a lawyer. You didn't go out. You came back and stayed and held down your foundation of being black power first. With all the noise going on, we put up a little quote on Instagram and all this noise, on Facebook, and we had like a little bit of noise, but we had to put that fire out real quick, and we did that. But you did everything that we asked out of our men in the community. Go out, come back, hold your platform, hold your foundation, hold your line, hold the line. You did that, so that's a lot of respect from us to you, holding it down, and also telling the story of Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad. Nobody else was coming up with no book, right? Who was coming up with a book? Nobody else was coming up with the book. Nobody else has had the sweat and tears to even come up with it. A lot of people's looking from afar, but you did it. You was a champion. You was bold. You was all those things that Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad exemplified. With all the noise, you held the line. You had the last say, and you was there. So we respect that, and we honor that, because this is one of my beloved elders. And I'm going to tell this story, and I'm going to wrap up, and we're going to get Brother Malik on. We was at Church of the Abyssinian in Philadelphia. This is how far we go back. Church of the Abyssinian, the movement was on fire. Mumia, everything, the political prisoners. Steve Coakley was there. You know, Barashango, man, it was packed. Man, just imagine Dr. Khallid, the Church of Abyssinian in Philly, everything up top, the pews up top, down low, packed. Fire in the city. So inspired, so inspired. We rode down there. We soldiered down. About 10 of us. We had a beautiful time. But I had this shirt on. It was the first shirt. We did a shirt with Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad on it with the youth from was it New Orleans? It was in New Orleans when he had the red, black, and green flag and he had the AK-47. And I had that shirt on. And he seen that shirt. And he said, brother, he said, I gotta have this shirt. He seen that shirt, took that shirt off of me, and I gave it to Dr. Khalid. And I thought it was just such a great moment of me and his interaction. And we're not even going to talk about the organizer for the Million Youth March. When we took 4 buses from Baltimore down for the Million Youth March. A lot of people don't say nothing about the Million Youth March, but the Million Youth March was impactful. We are the organizers for Baltimore. We were there. We was on the ground. We were there. Brother Jabbar, Reality Speaks, Soul Violence Nation. We were the organizers for the Million Youth March, which was filled with a lot of love, a lot of self-determination, a lot of information and inspiration. We know what it was to be in Harlem on that day. So without further ado, I can keep going on and going on because I'm real passionate about this. But Brother Malik, you did what we asked our community to do. Go out. Hold the line. Go to school. Come back and be a lawyer for us. And our brother's doing that. So without further ado, let's bring up the warrior attorney, attorney Malik Zulu Shabazz. Let's clap it up, folks.
Please, let's give our brothers from Reality Speaks a round of applause. He's doing better than that. All right. Giving honor to God, I bear witness that regardless to land, label, or language, that there is but one God. And giving honor to all of those that we read about in the scripture, and specifically giving honor to those whom we thank for coming here to the West, the Western Hemisphere, to seek and to save us here, lost in the decadence of the diaspora of the white man, slavery, and colonialism. And so I speak and give honor here to Sister Harriet Tubman. I give honor to Brother Nat Turner. I give honor to Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I give honor to Denmark Vesey. I give honor to Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I give honor to Minister Malcolm X. I give honor here to all of the members of the Black Power movement. I'm talking about Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, may God rest his soul. And to all of the others from the Black Panther Party who gave their lives. And also in opening up in the name of the ancestors, we must remember that we must free all political prisoners. That we have political prisoners behind bars. Mumia is sick right now. He's behind bars. We need to support Mumia. We need to back Matulu Shakur, and we need to still hold the line for all political prisoners, and that includes H. Rap Brown, Jamil Al-Amin, and the names of the ancestors and those who are currently locked down in the struggle. I say again, Black Power to you. Assalamu alaikum. And I know you got your mask on. I'm the only one off. I've had 7 COVID tests over the last few weeks, so I think we'll survive here. But it's my honor to be here with my family, my brothers here. Reality Speaks. My honor to be with you, Kings. It's important to be here in Baltimore. Thank you. And important to get this message out. Our subject here today is the book of Khallid, the life of Khalid Abdul Muhammad and how it relates to this current liberation struggle that we're going on here. I'm blessed to have been touched and mentored by Khalid Muhammad. And as you say, set me on a course, set you on a course, set you on a course, set us on a course for several decades. And we are in a critical time right now. right now, the same things that Mr. Muhammad faced yesterday, we face today. The same issues he faced yesterday, we face today. The same challenges that Khalid Muhammad faced yesterday, we face today, but we faced them without Khalid Abdul Muhammad. Fortunately, like Mr. Marcus Garvey say, that you may have captured the lion, but I have left some cubs in the bush. So I'm happy to report to you from all across the United States of America that there are many cubs and students who have been influenced by Khalid Abdul Muhammad. His influence is tremendous in this hour. First of all, before I go further, I want to give honor to Chairman Hashim Nzinga, who I come in his name because Hashim Nzinga is my brother and I miss him dearly. Hashim Nzinga, the chairman for 7 years of the New Black Panther Party, who stood in after my transition from the New Black Panther Party in 2013. Minister Chairman Hashim Nzinga has gone on to the realm of the ancestors. And so in this day and hour, I am, and others, and they'll be coming soon, we still wage the struggle to keep up Khalid Muhammad's vision, to study to keep up black nationalism, and we're in a struggle to not only keep up, but to make better the work of the New Black Panther Party, which comes to me in my career at a point in time where I'm into furthering the work of Black Lawyers for Justice, after having taken off really for about a year or so to gruel and grind and to put together Khalid's book. And so just to open up, we're in an interesting point in time because there's political work that needs to be done. There's a legal work that I have to stay involved in and must finish. So I have to say to those who are watching, a luta continua, the struggle continues. We need more activity from black nationalists such as yourself. We need to continue the institutional work of Reality Speaks in the black culture movement, the black information movement, the black nationalist movement. And I'm working as hard as I can around the country to unify those that come up under the red, the black, and the green while I do my legal work. So obviously I can't do it all, so I'm making a plea for help. I make a plea for help in this hour. The good news is that every time you see a black man with that black military fatigues on and that red, black, and green on and that Black Panther button on anywhere in America, I want you to say and think that Khalid Abdul Muhammad's work lives on, okay? When you see the new Black Panther Party here, there, and everywhere, still wearing that uniform, still wearing them boots and fatigues, some of them carrying AR-15s and other weapons in the practice of self-defense, then you must know that his work lives on. When you hear and see about the Huey P. Newton Gun Club and the great work of the Huey P. Newton Gun Club, my family, and those that operate that operation, those black militants, what they call themselves, revolutionary black nationalists, you can trace that and you can chart that in this book, and you can ask them themselves. They are from the fruit of the tree of the new Black Panther chairman, Khalid Abdul Muhammad. So the good news is that actually black power is alive and well.
That's right.
The good news is that the people who are willing to practice black power and black nationalism are more than ever. In the times when we came up, it was in the 90s and so forth, or when you all got started, for a black man to even advocate self-defense, he was ostracized for. Just for Khalid Abdul Muhammad to advocate that a black man should pick up a gun at a time when we were told that guns were not to be used at all. Just for him to advocate it and put it into practice was radical at that time, but it's becoming the norm today because it's becoming the norm because the problems haven't changed. When you see Derek Chauvin, whose trial is coming up in Minneapolis, the cop that killed George Floyd by crushing his neck and preventing him from breathing, when you see how he murdered him in the streets just last year, you'll see that nothing has substantially changed when it comes to what we call the white man, white racism and white supremacy. The problem is bad. The problem is getting worse. You got white racists, white Confederates, white supremacists committing atrocities against blacks, arming themselves to the teeth around the country. And so the good news is that there's more black people that are embracing black power. There are more blacks and black self-defense groups out here now than ever. And we've heard Black Lives Matter. We've heard Black Lives Matter a lot. But the pulse that I'm getting out here is that people want black power. Black power?
Black power.
That they want black power.
Black power.
They don't just, we understand that our lives matter. But is that where we really are after 400 years? Trying to get the white man and white society and ourselves to accept a fundamental premise that our lives matter. That's like kindergarten 101. Black power?
Black power.
We have to have self-determination. So let's talk about a prophet of black nationalism. A prophet of self-determination. One who held the line and didn't waver at all. One who can be counted on for the future to be a barometer, a standard bearer, or one we can look to that we can trust forever. And one of the reasons we can trust him forever because his book is out and you cannot change his teaching. And you cannot make him other than what he was. And now we can see and really glean on how valuable he was. So I'm going to come to some questions in about 10, 15 minutes. But I'm going to overview this book of Khallid and what it's about and who it's about. And so we can understand that everybody who's watching, everybody who's here, I want you to help me to spread this book to the ends of the earth. Spread it to the ends of the earth because it's a valuable book. Professor James Small says it's one of the top 5 biographies that he ever read. I'm deeply humbled by that. Many people on the internet comparing it to Malcolm X's autobiography. I give credit to Khalid Muhammad because he's the subject matter. See, the credit for the book goes to the subject matter of the book, who's so interested and so fascinating. And then I get credit behind that for giving it my all and struggling through it and all that it takes to bring about this book. But to Muhammad goes the credit. Because if Khalid Muhammad wasn't here and didn't do what he did and didn't set the example he set, we wouldn't be here to talk about it. So here we have 21 chapters here in the book of Khallid. And first of all, before I go forth, I want to thank my editorial director, Sister Renee Brooks, for helping me. Because when you read this book and you see it's 940 notes in the back, and when it was something that I needed for Khalid Muhammad, something I needed to reach for, something that came to my mind, something that I needed to formulate, I had an editorial director, an assistant that helped me. And so Sister Renee's spirit is in this book, and I also want to thank his son for doing the forward in the book. And I want to thank all of Khalid Muhammad's followers who have bought the book. It's selling well, and it's going to have to, the great thing about a book is it can go forever. You know what I mean? Every black man or woman who hasn't read it can read it. And so I'm first encouraging Khalid Muhammad's supporters to spread it and share it with a friend. Now, chapter 1 we call Birth of a Black God because we go into the early and origins of Khalid Muhammad. And we find out that man who you just saw masterfully handling Phil Donahue and masterfully handling him in a debate. You know, many say that that's the greatest debate that any black man ever interviewed with a white man ever, anytime. I tend to agree with it. I've never seen a white interrogator handled by any black man the way that Khalid Muhammad handled Phil Donahue. We agree on that?
Yes, sir.
If you got another example, let me know now. Okay, so we document that here. That's back here in chapter 14. But the origins of that skilled debater comes from that young man, Harold Van Moore. And Harold Van Moore is the one that was trained as a debater in debate school.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, he's trained as a debater in a debate school. He's a star student. He's a quarterback, as it were. He's a lifeguard, and he shows at an early age leadership skills and talent that later he brought into the Nation of Islam. Okay, he had Khalid Muhammad had the circumstance of being raised by his aunt. He was raised by his aunt, and his relationship with his mom was established later once he was completing college. But early on, he was raised by his aunt. Okay, and this may have affected Khalid Muhammad in the extent that he strove mightily in his early ages to excel. Whether that was in his nature or he drove hard in his early ages to excel, to show himself worthy, is a matter of his historical speculation. But I believe that Khalid Muhammad excelled early. Well, and that was one of the factors, that he was raised by his aunt. And Khalid Muhammad strove to excel at everything he did early on, I believe, to show himself worthy. He goes to Dillard University, and at Dillard University, as you see in the book, he pledges Omega Psi Phi. He becomes a member of the Council of the Greek Letter Organizations, and he becomes a standout Omega. Now, Khalid Muhammad, when I was with him and he was lecturing, he did not like me to mention the fact that he was an Omega. I mean, he got mad at me because he didn't want to make the Kappas mad. He didn't want to make the Sigmas mad. He didn't want to make the Alphas mad. But we specifically want to detail his being an Omega because that was an important reason why you're here and why he was successful in the Nation of Islam. Why? Because he was an expert at training and raising up and pledging black men. Not into a fraternity, but pledging them into the liberation struggle. I mean, I'm a pledgee of Khalid Muhammad, and by being pledged by Khalid Abdul Muhammad, I'm able to stand before you today as a more committed person. You know, I'm sure I'd be committed, but I wouldn't be who I am. You would be committed, but you wouldn't be who you are. Well, I got pledged by Khalid Muhammad. Now, pledging can be rough, okay? And so throughout this book, you see certain instances of my pledging under Khalid Muhammad and others. For those of you who think Malik Zulu Shabbat, he's big and bad, right? But you would have loved to see Khalid Muhammad checking me, right? You would have liked to see that, right? Just bring me down the side. You'd have liked to see him checking me on my shirt sleeves and my boots, getting on me. And he got on me for some years, you know. And he got on me in certain parts of this book. He was hard on me. And he was hard on others. And we didn't know because we hadn't joined the Nation of Islam. We hadn't joined the Nation of Islam. So when we're being trained by Khalid Muhammad, you know what we're thinking. We're thinking originally. All right. Black Power, let's get it. New Black Panther Party. All right, so hold this post right here. Sir, you can hold this one over here. All right, let's get it from the Washington, D.C. chapter, trying to keep up the work. Okay, so we were pledged. My point being is that Khalid Muhammad was pledged under the rigorous training regimen back in the 60s of Omega Psi Phi. And those qualities he brought to the fruit of Islam. He brought as the supreme captain of the Nation of Islam, and he became one of the best trainers and recruiters and molders of men ever. All of his tactics were not easy to go by. Some of his tactics were tough. Some of his tactics they may have called abusive. But there are many who are listening, who are watching this broadcast now and will hear that will say that they benefited from the tough and the rigorous and the demanding training of Khallid Muhammad. Okay, so now at Dillard University, Khallid Muhammad comes into contact now with the Nation of Islam. He is already as a youngster, he's being trained as a Methodist minister. He describes in this book how he used to preach from cars passing by on the highway, and he was being trained to be a Methodist minister. But by the time he got to college and in the midst of the liberation struggle, he admits to us that he had lost his faith in God. He had lost his zeal for the religion. And it's likely because the Methodist religion and the Methodist teaching was far off from what was happening in the peak of the liberation struggle around 1968. You know, I mean, whatever they were teaching in the theological seminary, you know, Khallid Muhammad called it the theological cemetery. Whatever they were teaching there was not compatible to this young man who idolized and loved Malcolm X and looked up to H. Rap Brown and others. So his spirituality is the fire for his spirituality was rekindled by his coming into contact with his mentor and his spiritual father, Minister Louis Farrakhan, who comes to Dillard University in 1967 and delivers a speech that Khallid Muhammad says changed his life. That speech is called Have We Made Progress? And from that point, Khallid Muhammad decides that he's going to become a black Muslim. And so between the years of the 1967, 1970, he integrated into the Nation of Islam in Louisiana, and he becomes a top minister. He becomes a top recruiter right off. He excels, okay? In 1970, okay, we have chapter 2, talks about Harold X now. And when you talk about Harold X, this chapter here is all about, Khallid Muhammad moves to Los Angeles, California. He completes his education in Los Angeles, California, his undergrad. He also links up with his mother. That's important to him, spiritually, that he links back up with his mother in Los Angeles, okay? The chapter 2, Harold X, is all about this Nation of Islam that Khallid Muhammad is a part of in the 1970s. So one thing about the book, you touched on it earlier, I think that this book is a very valuable history book for the Nation of Islam. You know, this is Khallid Muhammad's history, but it contains solid history on the Nation of Islam, and it's hard to get solid history on the Nation of Islam. When you get history on the Nation of Islam, normally you get history on straight haters of the Nation of Islam. It'll be a white man. He might be writing the history of Malcolm X. So he'll write some good history on the Nation of Islam, but their objective will be to build up Malcolm X, and they will try to attack the Nation of Islam as much as they can, you know, and so that was, and even other black writers. You got Manning Marvel. He did Malcolm X book. You got all kind of writers. I don't really think that they've really given the positive attributes of that Nation of Islam under Elijah Muhammad. I don't think that they have. Right. I don't think that they have given that history its proper credit. Okay, so in the second chapter of this book, you will find a solid history on the Nation of Islam, and you will get an idea of why Harold X, Khallid Muhammad, why he loved Elijah Muhammad so much. Why was he so loyal to Elijah Muhammad? And in general, we need to get an idea of what is the genius behind Elijah Muhammad. he has to have some genius behind him due to certain factors. There's a chapter in this book called National Spokesman, and it lists some of the top orators on the history of the black movement, right? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not listed as one of the greatest orators in the history. However, he's credited as one of the greatest leaders in the book, but not as one of the greatest orators. So we got to ask the question: well, how does a man with a fourth grade education, whose speech is not as dynamic as a Malcolm X, it's not as clear and dynamic as a Stokely Carmichael, it's not as clear as his student Louis Farrakhan. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad's speech is not as overtly clear to you as a Khallid Muhammad's speech. Well, then why do so many adhere to him still to this very day? In these books that I talk about on Elijah Muhammad, well, he is he does not get a good report card at the end of the day. Spike Lee's movie on Malcolm X does not really make Elijah Muhammad look good. Due to the circumstances that happened between the Nation of Islam, Elijah Muhammad, and Malcolm X, and dealing with allegations that Malcolm X made against Elijah Muhammad, dealing with his personal life or his domestic life, a lot of the messenger's history is sandbagged. It's sandbagged. It's tied up. It's muddy. It's got some stuff on it. Due to it always gets trapped in a discussion about his wives or his children, what Malcolm said. It was Malcolm killed behind it. So therefore, that's another weight he has on him historically. Elijah Muhammad, he's got the weight of not necessarily being the greatest orator. He's got the weight of allegations and the fight with Malcolm X. Yet, we still find from him one of the greatest and strongest examples of black nationalism ever that's outlined in this book. And so here we go into detail about that great institution in America, the fruit of Islam, and how was it created, and how was it established yesterday, and why does this has it continued today? We're talking here about the MGT. We have to say that when we have seen black women in this audience for decades now, back to the 60s and through the day, we've seen the examples of righteous black women through the Muslim Girl Training Program of the Nation of Islam. Is that right? Yes, we have appreciated seeing the MGT over these years. Okay, that credit goes back to the messenger and what he established. We talk about black economics. He was the king of it. Huh? We talk about we're going to ship some products. We're going to bring some produce from overseas. We want a black supermarket. Well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad established all of that despite the obstacles that I have described to you. And despite being specifically targeted for destruction from the United States government, he was able to establish a black bank called the Guarantee Bank on the south side of Chicago. He established black banks long ago. He is the one who established the International Fishing Program and put fish on the street all over America, employed thousands and thousands of black men all over America. That's the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Department stores, grocery stores, farmland. I mean, he put the black nation to work, answering the question, how come this man is not lettered, is learned? Because he must have known something, and he must have been backed by some kind of higher power to come through the issues that he had, or the issues that he was faced with to set such a mighty example. So chapter 3 is on chapter 4. Chapter 2, Harold X is all about that great organization that Khallid Muhammad decided to join with. And we must understand what the real program of the Nation of Islam is. When you read this, you won't have to speculate about what the Nation of Islam teaches. What do they teach about white people? What do they teach about black people? What are they teaching about America? You have to go and When you read this book, you will know what Fard Muhammad taught. Elijah Muhammad taught. I'm going to move fast. Fard Muhammad, I'm all right now. Where his W. Fard Muhammad taught and Elijah taught. Let's back up to W. Fard's for those that want to in the book. There's a lot of Afrocentric scholars here, and you say, well, and Fard comes under attack in some Afrocentric circles because he's not a pure black man, right? Matter of fact, one of the attacks that Khalid Muhammad faced in his lectures was that asking the question, was Fard a white man? The Nation of Islam had been charged with worshiping a white God. It's detailed here in this chapter. As a matter of fact, the Hearst paper said the Nation of Islam, or black Muslims, worship a white God. And Khalid Muhammad is a jet black, blue black man, and he's the blackest man amongst us. And so you would figure he would come under attack for his leading spiritual figure in his religious order being a man that is criticized for looking like a white man and is admitted that at least one of his parents is a white woman. Black power? The Nation of Islam teaches that W. Fard Muhammad's mother is a Caucasian white woman and his father is an original black man, and out of the two peoples came the Semite or the Arab that came 9,000 miles to the west, July 4th, 1930. So what you have to ask, well, why is jet black, blue black, all the time? Khalid Abdul Muhammad, why is he so loyal to Fard? Fard has been attacked. Other books will outright have attacked Fard on many levels. Why? And the answer is answered in this book. It is not because. It's all right. It's the spirit. It's the spirit. It is not because. It is not because Khalid Muhammad worshiped Fard as if he was alive. Are you listening to me? I have to be straight up with it. Because it is not because of that. Khalid Muhammad's respect for Farad Muhammad is due to the teachings and the doctrine of W. Fard Muhammad, who's called Master Fard Muhammad in the Nation of Islam, and the effect of his teaching on the people. And that truth that he taught is an undefeatable truth, a verifiable truth. What is that truth that turned Khalid Muhammad on from Fard Muhammad? What is that? That truth that made him so loyal to Fard. What is that truth? What is that divine truth? Akbar.
Sir,
what is that truth?
That truth is that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger.
Are you sure? That's a good truth, but that's not that truth. Because he could have got that truth from anybody. He could have went and got that truth from the Sunni Muslim at that time. He could have got that truth. That truth had been suppressed. That had been suppressed. Say what?
The white man is the devil. Is a truth that had been suppressed.
Okay, now that's what we talk about in this book.
Exactly.
The reason why Khalid Muhammad would go to a lecture and a brother in the back, one or two times, would stand up and they would attack Fard because they would have read something on him, or they would have said from his skin complexion that he wasn't an original man, or some would say he was an Asian or a spy. I think Khalid Muhammad really get into some serious arguments. I mean, down to some serious stuff and some lectures. But he would not back up off Fard. He would not back up off Fard because he believed that Fard's teaching was a divine revelation, and that divine revelation had life-giving power, and Khalid Muhammad held on to that revelation to the very end of his day, despite persecution and despite rejection. What is that revelation? That one specific revelation that he let's just go right here, because far teaching is defined in the lessons. Okay, and so on page 16, the question is asked. This is Fard's lessons, right? Fard's holy book. And Khalid Muhammad wanted us to stick by this. Some 16, some books 17 and the other. Who is the question, student enrollment question, who is the original man? And the answer is the original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, the father of civilization, God of the universe. Okay? The second one was in the student enrollment question is, who is the colored man? The answer is the colored man is the Caucasian white man. Yakub's grafted devil, the skunk of the planet Earth. Now that got Muhammad. All right? And that got Muhammad. That's right. Black power. Black power. That got Muhammad, and he got many others. Because the opening to the black man's understanding of himself as a divine person and an opening to the divinity of the black man came at this moment. And this is what turned Khalid Abdul Muhammad on. Not necessarily the identifying of a God on the outside, but the knowledge of the God of inside of the black man is what carried Muhammad and helped him to restore his faith in God. Not a mystery God. God in the person of the black man and the black woman is what Khalid Abdul Muhammad taught us. Is that right? He taught us about a God and a goddess, right? And he taught us about God in the person of the black man and God in the person of the black woman. All right. So we learn all about the nation, all about Fard and his teachings. Why Khalid Muhammad was loyal to Fard. Master Farad Muhammad, or what we call scholarly W. Fard Muhammad, and Elijah Muhammad in the Nation of Islam program. And you get other history here on Malcolm X and Louis Farrakhan and Khalid Muhammad heading to the West Coast. Ride with me for a minute. So we have chapter 3, and then we get to Akbar's man, Wallace Muhammad. And this chapter is called The Reign of Wallace. It probably would be more accurately called The Wild Ride of Wallace. And it's something that you all should just study. And what you will come to understand in this chapter is how the Nation of Islam changed and who it was changed by and how it was changed and what are the significance of those changes. And it should be a chapter of study to all black people. You know why? Because you don't want to ever see it happen again. You don't want to ever see it happen again. History is best qualified to reward our research. If we know what happened yesterday, we're better off to understand today. Okay, and so in this chapter, you will see how the FBI wanted to change the teachings of the Nation of Islam. The FBI desired to change the leadership of the Nation of Islam away from black nationalism, away from so-called teachings of racial hatred, away from separation, and they wanted a teacher to come along to teach specifically spiritually non-race-based teachings and to talk about self-improvement and the brotherhood of man. The white man is your brother, I'm your brother, the yellow man is your brother, and we are all one human family. The teachings of Wallace Muhammad. But these is also the desires of the FBI. Now, so we won't take long on it. And it goes into a lot, and it deals with some of the concerns You know, it's some of the concerns of Muslims. You know, they said in the 1970s, well, the black Muslims weren't true Muslims, that they didn't know the Sunnah of Islam. And so it was a big thing in the 1970s for somebody to try to prove that they was a true Muslim. Is that right? It was a big thing to show that you knew the salat and how to make your obligatory prayers. It was a big thing to say whether you had been to Mecca. It was a big thing. I don't know why it was such a big thing, but it was a big thing to try to prove how much of a Muslim you were to the entire ummah, or the entire Muslim community or the Muslim world. That was the big thing then. Not so much right now. Black power?
Black power.
Because we have out here fighting police brutality. We're out here fighting for black rights and black causes. And we haven't seen one Arab Muslim show up yet. We have tried to please them. Tried to show them that we would follow and conform to their habits, cultures, dictates, and norms. And they haven't backed us up. The only Arab that backed us up was Muammar al-Gaddafi. That's the only one that really backed us up and showed for our cause. So we haven't got a lot out of chasing the Arab. Right. We haven't even got a lot out of culturally chasing that Arab. All we have, as it stands today in this hour, all we have today is ourselves. That's really all we have is ourselves. Black power? Black power. Whether we are Muslim, Christian, or no religion at all, we are black brothers and sisters first. That's right. Yes, we don't jump over no Arab, no matter what religion he is, before we'll go to a lost found black brother or sister, no matter what religion they are, their brotherhood and sisterhood is above the brotherhood and sisterhood of the Arab, the Chinese, the Pakistani, the Iranian, all of them. Black power? Black power. That's how it is, due to what we have studied in history. So you get into all of that in chapter 3. Sunni Islam, the changes in the teaching, the changes in the doctrine, and you find out about this black man who, during the fall of the Nation of Islam, or the death of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that's what I said, the death of Elijah Muhammad, because I do touch on in the book, straight up, on the question of whether Khallid Abdul Muhammad believed that Elijah Muhammad was alive. Because we've heard that teaching, is that right? That's right. And I had to address that teaching, and so it comes on later in the book. Where Khallid Abdul Muhammad is absolutely clear to me in his lifetime that Elijah Muhammad, as great as he was, and Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as awesome as he was, he dies like any other man. Black power. Black power. His work lives on. His spirit lives on. His legacy lives on, his example lives on, his teaching lives on forever. And so the Quran is true, that those that we speak of are dead, they are not. And the Quran is true. But Khallid Muhammad did not believe that Elijah Muhammad was riding around in a spaceship in the sky forever. He specifically told me, he said he did not believe in that. And he said to us, my mind is on Mars, yet my black behind is behind bars. Right. He said we cannot keep looking for a pie in the sky after we die. We have to fight and build something sound on the ground while we're still around. That's right. So he said, these are some things that Jabari, that I have to, as a scholar, get into, that they don't say I'm making trouble with. But you know why we need to understand this? We can't get spooky. We can't get spooky. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was here and he is gone. Okay? It would be an insult to think that Elijah Muhammad would even want to ride in a space capsule 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, flying around in the darkness. Black power? Black power. If I catch a 22-hour flight to South Africa, I'm trying to get the hell off of that plane. Huh? If I catch 11 hours to Senegal and they put me off and say, now it's another 12 hours to Johannesburg, you best believe after 23 hours, I'm ready to get off that plane. So to think that Elijah Muhammad is going to stay on a plane, just zipping around the universe forever. I mean, if I was him, I wouldn't want to be up there doing that. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Spookism. Spookism is according to Khalid Muhammad, is an intense emotional commitment to a non-existent nothing. We have to wake up to reality. No, Elijah Muhammad is not flying around on a spaceship. Elijah Muhammad left an example that we could be duplicating right now in the community. He's not coming back to save us, is what Khalid Abdul Muhammad taught us. He gave us the example, but he's not coming back. All souls must taste death. The Holy Quran teaches. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Every soul must taste death. Okay? And then from the death, he brings forth the living from the dead, and the dead from the living. Okay? The living unto death. Whole nother subject. So look, the nation is back. Chapter 4. The nation falls. Khalid Muhammad goes to Uganda. Khalid Muhammad.
A footnote, and speak not of them as dead, they are the living, but yet we perceive not as you perceive.
They are living.
They are living,
The legacy lives, but not the physical body. Is that right?
That's true.
Because if we saw, if you and I saw, as much as you love your grandma, as much as you saw your great-grandma, if you saw any of them walk through this door right now, you would get up and run out of here like fast as hell. If you seen some bodies coming up here like the Night of the Living, mummies start walking up in here, you and I are heading in the other direction. We cannot depend on a white Jesus from 2,000 years ago and coming back.
That's right. That's right.
Nothing mysterious is coming back. But the people that can make that change is right here in this room and listening to this broadcast. So Khalid Muhammad then sees Idi Amin. Well, Idi Amin, he's the president of Uganda. This is when the nation fell. Khalid goes to Africa. Khallid becomes a revolutionary. Khallid studies under Idi Amin. But wasn't Idi Amin a cannibal? Wasn't he a bad man that killed up a lot of black people? I see you shaking your head.
Definitely in Hollywood.
In Hollywood. Okay. So we get some clarity. So Khalid Muhammad is a good man. Would he support a mass murder? Would he support a cannibal? Khalid Abdul Muhammad told me, and the history teaches us, that Idi Amin was a good man. That Idi Amin, the president of Uganda, was the head of the Organization of African Unity, meaning that all the African states, except for apartheid South Africa and apartheid so-called Rhodesia, were members of the OAU, and they followed Idi Amin's leadership. The white man didn't tell you that, right?
Nope.
He didn't tell you that all the African nations elected Idi Amin as the leader. And as the leader of the OAU, Idi Amin's military policy was that by organization of all the air forces, organization of all the African army units and guerrilla units, and division of Osajiko, Kwame Nkrumah, by organization of the air units, the guerrilla units, the army units, the sea units, and the land units, that they would all simultaneously move on South Africa and by military and guerrilla force overthrow the white racist government of South Africa in the 1970s. That was the plan.
Wow.
Black power?
Black power.
That was the plan. It wasn't Nelson Mandela's Codessa Accord. One man, one vote. The plan in the 1970s was to back up the freedom fighters who was fighting on the outside of Rhodesia and South Africa, and by air, land, and sea to militarily move on and overthrow the white racist apartheid government in South Africa. And that is what Khalid Muhammad was training on, and that is why Idi Amin was here. Idi Amin was also hated because the economy of Uganda was being dominated by Indians. The economy of Uganda was being dominated by Zionist Jews from Israel. And Idi Amin's executive orders in office was to take back everything in Uganda that belonged to the African, and he sent that Indian packing, and he sent that so-called Jew packing. And they got to howl. Because he sent them packing. And that's why today they have defamed this man. Okay, so you know about Khallid and that, and understand that Khalid Muhammad picked up a doctorate also in Uganda. And Khalid Muhammad lectured all throughout South Africa. So here he comes by the age of 30, 67, 77, 87. I mean, probably 40. Yeah, by the age of 30 or so, he's a well-experienced, internationally traveled revolutionary at 30. Where was you at 30? Where was I at 30? Where was we at 30? You can start to see that this is a special young man. Okay, now the Nation of Islam has fallen. Minister Louis Farrakhan, he starts to wake back up. And we have to give credit here for the restart of the Nation of Islam to one Silas Muhammad, who's mentioned in this book, chapter 4. The nation is back. Well, how did it come back? Well, who was the first to stand up to help bring it back? Let me say this. Wallace Muhammad, or Imam Warathuddin Muhammad, he reigned supreme over all Islam until one black man went to that mosque on Stony Island in Chicago on August 21st, 1977, and he stood up in there and he said he wasn't going to take it anymore. And he announced a spiritual declaration of war, and his name was Silas Muhammad. And Silas Muhammad said he wouldn't have enough. He had enough. At that time, Minister Louis Farrakhan had preached for Wallace for over 2 years. Is that right? He was Abdul Halim Farrakhan. He was a national and international representative for Wallace Muhammad. And so many of the elders in the Nation of Islam, they were saved. When I'm doing research for this book, they say, well, I followed Wallace because I heard Farrakhan. Is that right? They say, when I heard Farrakhan preaching for Wallace, I either one, wasn't going to oppose Wallace, or two, Farrakhan, as Khalid Muhammad said, was the only man that could make Wallace teaching sound good. But Wallace teaching wasn't good, even if it sounded good.
That's right.
So Silas Muhammad stands up, and in that time we get into how this whole thing got started. And to summarize it, it could be fairly stated that when Silas Muhammad stood up to restart the Nation of Islam, that spurred Minister Louis Farrakhan. And Jabril, the man that helped wake him up, that spurred them to get Farrakhan going, because it's probably reasonably could be calculated that Silas Muhammad would have continued to make what? More and more progress had he been the only man on the scene. But others liked Farrakhan. They knew Farrakhan better. And Farrakhan at some point also realized that Wallace Muhammad wasn't where it was happening. Now, there's another side to it. Akbar, they say that in the Nation of Islam that Wallace Muhammad came to root out corruption. I have a point there. That Wallace Muhammad came to root out corruption. That all of the ministers in the Nation of Islam, some of them was taking advantage of the people, and he claimed to clean it up. That's another point to it. And another point to it, I'm going to stop it a minute. Another point to it is that many people, I have a section called Wallace Muhammad Defenses. Some people will overcharge. They say, well, Wallace Muhammad destroyed the entire economy of the Nation of Islam. Yes, haven't you heard that? Yes, he destroyed all the businesses. He wiped out all the businesses. Is that right? Mm-hmm. That's only partially true. That's right. It's only partially true. Because if you go to the court records state that in court, the battles in probate court eventually ruled that most of all of the properties under his control did not legally and lawfully belong to the Nation of Islam. That's right. They ruled that it was legally and lawfully his personal property. And when it was ruled that it was legally and lawfully his personal property, it was split up amongst who? Children. Heirs. Right? Heirs and children. Okay? And so it's only partially true that Wallace destroyed the businesses. What he really did is he destroyed the business mindset of the Nation of Islam. So you could go to court and lose a building in court. You can go to court even though you maybe shouldn't have. Another lesson we need to learn about leadership and successorship. But anyway, let's just say you go to court, you lose 70% of everything you got, but you still got 100% of your followers. Hell, you can build back tomorrow. You can put it on. You can make your reforms and keep your teaching, your black economic teaching. You can build back tomorrow. But Wallace Muhammad was anti-black. He called black blackism. He hated black, and he hated black teaching in Islam. And therefore that black laborer, that black employee, that black businessman, under his mentality, destroyed, went his own way. Come on, bro. The Nation of Islam come back. Here's Khallid Muhammad does not get his credit. And this is what all Nation of Islam members today need to know. That this current Nation of Islam that you have seen between 1980 and today, that this Nation of Islam, it owes a debt to Khallid Muhammad. Every fruit of Islam anywhere in America that's wearing that suit and bow tie, no matter what time they came in, every fruit of Islam owes a credit to the man that's written about in this book, that if Minister Louis Farrakhan did not stand up, and if Louis Farrakhan did not have people that were guarding and protecting his life, specifically, if Khallid Muhammad had not protected Louis Farrakhan's life when he had no protector, when they was out to assassinate him, at that time, Wallace Muhammad had some of Elijah Muhammad's toughest captains. Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He had Wali Bahar. Is that right? Wali Bahar.
John Ramadan, Abbas Rasul, some of the staff, Raymond Sharif. So most of the stuff with Wallace for a while. Bashir Assad, Qasim Ahmed, Medina, Yamini. So all those officers, I'm officers, I was in Chicago before. All those kind of, most of them stuck to stay. In fact, very few of them even at the time of the transition when Elijah Muhammad made his transition. Then eventually, the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan made his transition from the Imam Warfaqi Muhammad and started the Nation of Islam and began to teach what he knew the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught, which made Elijah Muhammad successful, which to some degree has made the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan successful in his endeavor in raising the spirit of Islam, the MGT, and he did some, but not very much.
All right.
The potential for this house.
Okay. All right. So
it's international foreign relations.
All right. All right. So you know this is a 9-hour lecture, right? So what I'm gonna do is I want to get into the questions, because if I teach on these chapters, it would take 3 hours for me just to get halfway through it. This is my subject. I mean, it could be, there's jewels on this for 9 hours. But let's go over it like this, so I can just take your questions. We can interact and engage. The Nation is Back describes how Khallid Muhammad is strongly responsible for the Nation of Islam's success in the modern era. And that Louis Farrakhan, who reached his pinnacle at that Million Man March, that he would not have gotten there if Khallid Muhammad had not been there to defend and protect his life. Okay, they wanted to kill Farrakhan. Wallace Muhammad's bodyguards were experts in eliminating rivals. Okay, and they didn't didn't touch Farrakhan because of Khallid and other men like Theron, X, and other enforcers, but a lot of that was due to Khalid Muhammad. Khalid Muhammad was the strongest military man in the Nation of Islam in the early 1980s. In Los Angeles, California, he raised up the strongest military defense corps that the Nation of Islam has ever seen, still even to this day. I don't know any city that I've ever seen in the Nation of Islam that had a stronger group of FOI than Khalid Muhammad's FOI at Mosque number 27 when he was the West Regional Captain in the early 80s. That's why he was elected to be the Supreme Captain. It is because he showed superior military organizing and paramilitary organizing capability over everybody in the Nation of Islam. They state in this book, the Fruit of Islam in Chicago and in New York and everywhere, that they looked to him as the standard. And they looked at his training as the standard. And his standard of training was a paramilitary training. And in other points in this book, it shows you how even the boots and the fatigues and the berets that you see the Black Panthers wear, that Khalid Muhammad had paramilitary units that he started with the Fruit of Islam called the Brotherhood of the Black Man, that was started as early as in the 1970s. So as a superior military man, superior military trainer, we talked earlier about his pledging capabilities, all of that is what contributed to the Nation of Islam's success today. Khalid Muhammad's oratory, before we get to his oratory, all of them controversies that the Nation of Islam went through, they were going to kill Louis Farrakhan. Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson, and the Jews. When Minister Louis Farrakhan supported Jesse Jackson in 1984 for president, it was the same thing as when you saw Khalid Muhammad under attack for King College. They were saying Louis Farrakhan was a racist, he was an anti-Semite, he was everything bad in the book, and they wanted to kill Louis Farrakhan. Supreme Captain Khalid Muhammad made sure that none of that happened, down to what we read about in chapter 4 about him doing what? Hitting Herb Rubin in the jaw. Herb Rubin, the head of the Jewish Defense League, and Khalid Muhammad had many encounters, but one of the most famous encounters when Khalid Muhammad bust Herb Rubin right in the jaw outside of the LA Convention Center when he clocked that crack, and he dropped that crack right in front of the LA Convention Center. Let's give him a black hand for that. Muhammad was not a man of talk, he's a man of action. There's a section in here called Killing White Folks. Hello? Maybe you take a look at that section when you get a chance to, okay? Because I've done a lot of research about Khalid Muhammad, and I found out that Khalid Muhammad was serious about everything he said. Serious about everything he said. And there's some things I can say in my book, and there's some things I can only allude to in my book. Okay, and there's some things that I say in my book that I don't know nothing about in my book. Hello? There's some things I allude to in my book, yet I don't know nothing about it in my book. Yet it could be true in my book.
That's
you know what I'm saying? Yet I don't know nothing about it.
That's right.
Hello?
Don't say it. Don't say don't know. Come on.
My research says that I believe that Khalid Muhammad actually killed some white folks, but I don't know nothing about it.
That's right.
Okay? All right. Muhammad goes on here. Now it gets a little deeper here in the story. It talks about Khalid Muhammad, the great orator, because as a defense man, the way he was able to inspire people defensively to make soldiers committed men, it was because of that oratorical skill. I mean, no man preacheth like this man here preached. That's right. No man talked and ran his mouth and spoke and educated the way he did, like he did, but him. Is that right? Right. No one can duplicate him, and no one ever will, because God gave him that tongue, and God gave him that mouth, and he is one of the greatest and finest orators ever to live. Some of his oratory has been overshadowed by some of his most radical statements. You know, what I mean to say is that we appreciate all his statements, but the depth of his mind and how heavy he was and deep he was is often overlooked. We often overlook the metaphysical Khalid Muhammad. We often overlook the Imam Khalid El-Hajj Khalid Muhammad, the man who taught in depth out of the Holy Quran. I know the man, and I have his Bible. It's laced with quotes. This was a very spiritual man. So sometimes when you see sound bites or parts of him in history, you'll just think, well, he was just a black nationalist man angry with white people. I knew a spiritual man. I knew a man that was heavy into the Bible. I knew a man that I respected as my pastor. Seriously, like around the early 1990s, and knew that Bible front and back. That serious minister and theologian. So that's in here. Okay, so we get to Numbers chapter, that's chapter 6. And I compare him to Frederick Douglass as an orator. I say that from what I saw and how I walk with him, I put him as an orator. I say that he can be put on that level with Dr. King. Yes, I say it. I say that all of those orators I've mentioned, some of them black, some of them white. I talk about Winston Churchill. I talk about other great orators in history. Khalid Muhammad is on that level. You read the book, and not only what he said, where he said it, and when he said it. It's not just what you're articulating. It's when you articulate it and how you're articulating it. And at the critical moments, he delivered. Chapter 7 called Student Warrior. This is my story. And this is the story of how I come to meet him. And this is instructive for all student activists and young activists when you come to support a man like this. Okay, so it goes all into my experiences at Howard University and why I chose to support Khalid Abdul Muhammad. And what I want to say is to those students who are watching, they should read this. This is a lot of Howard University is in here. And we need a new cadre of student revolutionary activists. That's right. We need black conscious student activists that know what they're talking about and know what they're doing. And we got to train them, brother. Because if they're not trained by black nationalists who know the red, black, and green, they're going to be trained by Black Lives Matter. By the whack teachings of Black Lives Matter. Hello? Teachings that attack the black man as the head of household.
That's right.
Teachings that specifically are designed to put the transgender leadership at the head of the community.
That's right.
Teachings that we need to be counted on the college campus, okay? So that's chapter 7, and then I start getting, I guess, into some of my, Brother Jabari, some of my back and forth with the Nation of Islam, trying to help Khalid Muhammad. And so this becomes instructive to anybody that's strong in a movement and you meet opposition from your fellow brothers and sisters in your own organization. Has anybody experienced that? Has anybody tried to strive upward in your organization and you met opposition in your organization?
Yes, sir.
Have you done?
Yes, sir. I even had a recent experience, but I won't.
Okay, so all of you who plan on struggling and you have a talent in the struggle, guess what? Your number one opponent is going to be right next to you. It's not even going to be the way. You ready for that? So as you sign up for this job, which is a volunteer job, I need you to know in advance that your brother or your sister is going to be your number one opponent from the gate. Would you like to continue? All right? Black Power? Black Power. So we get into some of that, but we also get into other exciting student things that were going on at that time. Demonstrations, the protests, and so forth. Chapter 8 talks about Khalid Muhammad's experience in New York City as the minister in New York, We have certain other historical figures in here, such as Conrad X. Tiller, Conrad Muhammad. You have Khalid Muhammad in New York, and you have more opposition for him facing inside of the Nation of Islam, kind of like Malcolm X. You know, the Malcolm X narrative and jealousy and envy of Malcolm X. Well, there's jealousy and envy of Khalid Muhammad in the Nation of Islam. But before that, I didn't miss that. And he went to prison. I forgot, I didn't skip the part. He was the supreme captain. He went to the top, but then he goes to prison.
Right.
And when he goes to prison, that's the chapter called 100 FBI Agents. That's a lot of people's favorite chapter. Because Khalid Muhammad it shows you one thing. When I got his FBI files, it shows you how much the FBI cared about him. A man is known by his enemies, okay? And so his FBI file shows that he was heavily watched, and they sought to stop him for years. Matter of fact, I say in the book that he underestimated just how close the FBI was on him, meaning that when he was conducting certain meetings or business transactions, that Fruit of Islam with the suit and the bow tie right next to him, assalamu alaikum, alaikum salam, wearing a wire for the FBI, recording everything.
Right. Yes, sir.
And documenting everything. It's right there in the book.
Right.
Okay? So you got spies in the Nation of Islam. And you got the FBI in the Nation of Islam trying to stop the Nation of Islam.
Yes, sir.
The Nation of Islam teaching its core program is a threat to the United States government.
That's right.
Okay, so Khallid is caught up in the struggles and the contradictions around his belief system in black law. Matter of fact, black law is the lecture that he delivered in 1996 at Odell's for Reality Speaks when I met you all. Reality Speaks. And those were the tough times, see. Reality Speaks comes in, and Jabari and all of the men here, they come in when Khalid Muhammad is really abandoned and he needs help. This is at a time when he was without friends. But anyway, his subject was black law on that day. And they've been tracking him to try to get him in that position. And so this is a very exciting chapter, chapter 7.
I'm back. I just got back.
Because it describes how Khalid Muhammad controlled the whole courthouse while behind bars, and how concerned the FBI and the Justice Department was. He controlled the whole courthouse. I mean, after arrest, when he comes in the courthouse, gagged and bound, nobody sits down in the courtroom, even at the instruction of the judge, until Khalid Muhammad says it's okay for you to sit down. Khalid Muhammad had men on all corners around the courthouse running maneuvers with vans and vehicles. I mean, it was a serious setup that the FBI said was designed to affect justice, and all of the prosecutors were scared and everything because he had that kind of weight. I mean, he was like, even though he wasn't doing that, he was like Chapo or somebody. You know El Chapo, right?
Right.
He had that thing on lock, which raised their concerns even further. Bottom line to it, at the end of the ordeal, after court trial or whatnot, Khalid Muhammad did 9 months in the joint. He did 9 months in prison, and that set him back from the top of the Nation of Islam. He was national spokesman. He was supreme captain. This is around 1989. The nation is at its peak. Okay, Khalid Muhammad is in jail. He comes out. He has to almost like start over. That's when he meets me in late 88. You read it in the book. Read it in the book, late 88, early 89. Okay, so boom. We go through the rappers. After that, we get to New York. We talk about him coming back. And Khalid Muhammad was greatly helped in coming back by his famous relationship with the rappers. The rappers. This is how Khalid Muhammad accelerates in the early 90s. All right. Name the rap tune that he was involved in that you appreciate. Hold on 1 second. Let me hear you. Go ahead now.
Public Enemy.
Public Enemy? Okay. On Public Enemy record, what else?
D'Angelo.
D'Angelo.
Angelo came later.
Straight up and down.
That's hard.
Yeah.
Ice Cube.
D'Angelo's the Black Messiah, right? They took a whole 16 bars of it. What do you say, man?
The old one of them was the Public Enemy. You know, they have a new one out now that people are buying. That's pretty powerful. But I did hear you mention Ice Cube with NWA. Ice-T, those people back, LL Cool J was being a pop. But when they came out with their music, then it was considered raw rap, but it was about how they told the story. This mumble rap stuff right there, I can't deal with it.
All right, so we're gonna come right back to that. Let me jump on it. It's a subject. All right, so anyway, I cover the rappers. I cover Khalid Muhammad and his relationship with Public Enemy, Professor Griff, his relationship with Ice Cube, his relationship, most importantly, with Tupac Shakur, and everything he did, and everything he was on the song "White Man's World," Tupac's "White Man's World." He's on the song "Death Certificate" by Ice Cube on both sides. Let me live my life when I can no longer give my life. When I can no longer live my life, give my life. Liberation and salvation of the black nation. Saints, saviors, soldiers, scholars, healers, and killers. No longer dead, deaf, dumb, and blind out of our mind. Brainwashed. All of that was hip hop's golden era of consciousness. All of that is when you would have liked to have your young people tuning into the radio to hear Public Enemy, X-Clan, Brand Nubian, hell, the Defiant Giants, anybody that was out there rapping black, and now you complain about what? Mumble rap. I call it Amos and Andy rap. Buckwheat rap. Buckwheat rap. All right, look. Let me open up for questions. I don't want to take this. I've covered just half the book, and I go into this. There's just so much in here, but I'd rather take your questions and point you to other parts in this book. And there are other parts in here that, of course, are more controversial in this book. There are parts in here that are painful in this book. There are parts in here that detail Khalid Muhammad's split with his teacher and his departure from the Nation of Islam. This book starts and deals with the origins of the new Black Panther Party and how that this black nationalist self-defense movement that you see today has its origins around the work of Khalid Muhammad. It talks about Jasper, Texas. It talks about Khalid Muhammad being shot. It talks about him being shot by James X. Best, a black Muslim. Why was he shot? How did he become a Panther? All of that. Anything you want to ask, let's just go to the questions right now, and I'll answer from the part of the book.
I got one funny story, if I may.
Okay. Brother Akbar, can you come control this so we can just get the question straight?
I have to look this down.
Hold 1 second.
Whatever.
Try to get the question.
And then we'll come back. I'm ready when you are. First of all, my name is Mama Sandals. I hail from Baltimore, Maryland, and I came down behind me here from Washington, D.C. And out to everybody. Thank you for having me. I definitely want to purchase your book when you're done. I want to go on Black Panthers. That's one of the things you brought up. It's really caught my ear, everything good. Because I grew up in Baltimore under what was considered the original Black Panthers, Huey P. Newton and so forth, for the Baltimore chapter here. years ago selling newspapers. No, I did not wear the uniform at home because I came up under what my mother, at that time minister, with the United Methodist Church, okay, mentioned that, thinking that Muslims way of living is militant, but wasn't. I had to get out there and find out for myself. And going back to the Black Panthers and the fatigue and the camp, much respect. And now you're coming back and you saying that uh, the dream still goes on, and that there's a difference, but you're still wearing the fatigue that could say forgiveness. But God, what I'm trying to say is it was different. But how do you feel? A person myself or nature artist that sold the newspaper. I'm gonna tell you, I felt like a confused child, a black child growing up in this white society, okay, of being confused. And I couldn't be both. I had to be one or the other. But I sold the newspapers on the corners of the street. I'm looking over.
What's your question?
That is, how do you feel
About selling the newspaper?
about the selling of the newspapers for the Black Panthers? Mark that sell newspapers outside of time. As far as the moves on know about that.
Okay.
The actual newspapers. These are papers you can buy.
Come back this way. All right, I love you. Okay, thank you.
And growing up in society.
I have much respect. I have much respect for anybody that sold the Black Panther newspapers from the 1960s and the 1970s. The Black Panther newspaper is one of the greatest newspapers that's ever existed. And to be able to put out the Black Panther newspaper under the duress and being directly attacked by city and state law enforcement and FBI, and to keep getting that paper out all over the country with that radical message. And that's one another reason that makes the Black Panther Party from Oakland legends in my eyesight. I have nothing but respect for Honorable Dr. Comrade Huey P. Newton. I have nothing but respect for those that labored for him in the Black Panther Party and the selling of the Panther paper. As a principle, I believe that in the movement, just selling a paper is a lost art form. And I believe reading books is a lost art form. I believe that with these gadgets and with these computers and with the touch of a button, I believe that we've become dumbed down and that we're less knowledgeable than what we used to be. And I'm old school. There's nothing like a Muhammad Speaks or a Final Call newspaper in my hand, or the new Black Panther paper, which is soon to be reestablished, or Black Panther paper. We have to read, it's not a click of a button. This takes, I think Amazon said it takes, I forget how many weeks, a couple weeks to read. But to me, reading is critical for every person in the struggle, because every move I make in the struggle, I'm somehow cross-referencing something that happened, or something that someone did, or something that someone said. So I don't have to repeat history. So I'm constantly referencing history and what happened to keep me wise on how I'm going to handle the future now.
Thank you so much. But I was very rebellious I respect my elders, but I was rebelling because this is what I had believed in. This is what I wanted to do, and I wanted to learn more. And that was when I was younger. Now I'm 65 years old, and yeah, I can still be rebellious. You still all up in your face listening, because not only edutaining with education.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions? Here, we appreciate your question. Any other questions or comments here? Before we sign some books, go right ahead.
Because you were speaking on the rappers, what do you think we have to do now to make that connection between grassroots with the racial community and the rappers that are out today?
That's a good question. I would almost wish it was as simple as a current rapper meeting Khalid Muhammad type, or like an Ice Cube meeting a Khalid Muhammad. But Khalid Muhammad was riding a wave with the rappers, meaning that there was a wave of consciousness, and consciousness was infused in rap, and he became the spokesman of it. Khalid did not put revolution in rap. The rappers were a part of what was going on, and they expressed our sentiments. Brand Nubian expressed our sentiments. Public Enemy expressed our sentiments. There's a struggle going on here, right? You and I know that it's a struggle going on against police brutality. This ain't no lightweight time, right? This time here is kind of heavy. I mean, like we saw police stations getting burned. I seen them in Baltimore. They ripped the whole damn statue down. I mean, this is a revolutionary time. We would expect, right? We would hope that the rappers would naturally be rapping about this. That somebody like Brother Jabari or Brother Maktar or Malik Super Shabazz would just come drop on it. I don't find that these days. I find a rapper here or there that will say something conscious. So I don't have an immediate solution. Brothers of the Huey P. Newton Gun Club and Brother Babu Omwali, he is upset at what the radio. He's upset at what the radio is pushing. And so we as a black nationalist community are getting ready to take action. But we don't want to become the new C. Dolores Tucker. Nobody wants to become a C. Dolores Tucker where we out here beating up on the kids. And us going at the kids and the white man standing back in the middle. And we out here beating up on the kids. There's got to be a better way. And so right now it's a diplomatic issue. The hardcore, the people that the rappers respect, the new Black Panthers, the gun clubs, the revolutionaries, those that's holding them things that them kids respect out there. First mission would be outreach. It's our mission for the rest of you. Outreach and trying to reach them and see if we can win them over instead of going at them like Chuck.
I just wanted to ask what do you think about, you've been in the movement for a while, like over 25 years plus, what do you think about the new internet sensations on the internet right now? You know what I mean? It's been different brothers and sisters with platforms, very, very large platforms. And I often speak, we talk about this in the barbershop, we talk about this in different places, right? When Khalid Muhammad, one of the things that turned me on about Dr. Khalid Muhammad was that when he spoke, it was always give it up for my sister, Dr. Patricia Newton, and Kwame Ture, and brother something. He always name dropped, and always lift up. Dr. Shaka Musabar Shango, you know what I mean? Which in today's time, we see a lot of these internet sensations. They ain't saying nothing about nobody. It's about them just building up their platform. You can't join their organization. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, you know what I mean? It's not even really an organization, but you know what I mean? But they have numbers. They got massive, massive numbers. What do you think about that? Do you think that a lot of these guys are agents, or do you think that, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, what do you think about the new people in today's time? Because it's different. I look at it as different from our time coming up, and the way I dealt with lecturers. First time I met Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad, I talked to Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad. I called him, and funny story, but Brother Sindiata actually, he used to call my house sometime, and he would play, I was trying to get in touch with Dr. Khallid Muhammad, and he called me one day, and he was like, hey, brother, this is Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad, you know what I mean? And he was like, come on, stop playing. So one day, when he actually called me, he's like, peace, brother, this is Dr. Khallid Abdul Muhammad returning your call. Like, come on, man, stop playing. So he started calling me, I was playing like that. He's like, excuse me? No, I said, come on, man, stop playing. I'm in the middle of doing something. He said, my brother is really me. I'm sorry. Dr. Khallid Muhammad? I was like, he was a star during that time. So far I'm concerned, but you know what I mean? But what I met him was like being a superstar or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, what do you think about these people who never met me? I mean, and it was humble because it was like, we ain't had no money like that. So I'm like, we really don't have like a lot of money, but he said, no brother, no problem. We can get there. We get the people there. We raise donations. I help you. That's right. You know what I mean? That's why I love your spirit. You know what I mean? I'm not saying people gotta come out and do stuff to be broke. I'm not promoting being broke, you know what I mean, coming out to do stuff like that. But I'm just saying the spirit of today, yesterday, because people knew that the movement was going on. How do you feel about it?
Okay, I would say that, look, that's a good question. Give him a black hand.
Yeah,
That's a good question. On one hand, we've been hurt by social media because we start to embrace the quantity of likes versus the quality of the product. You know, so anybody that's got a social media following that gets a certain amount of likes automatically becomes a social media influencer. They might not know what the hell they're talking about. They might have got to be a social media influencer by showing the crack of their behind every day. I mean, if you show the crack of your behind every day, you guaranteed to get a following. Okay. So what it is that the world is damn near going upside down, right side up, because not only is cheap social media becoming the ideal for our kids, if it's not leading us nowhere, what the hell is it doing for our kids? What's wrong is going on in it? Then you have another problem. You got Facebook, Twitter, who's owned by the same company. I mean, probably Facebook, Instagram, owned by the same company. Twitter, and a few small companies that controlling almost all free speech. You know, as much as I detest Donald Trump and do not like Donald Trump, I saw it as a dangerous precedent when they banned him from social media, because the day they finna ban him, I don't like him, but I support his right to speak because I want my right to speak. And unfortunately, I can't even hardly speak these days because a monopoly is controlling all of the voices. I mean, goddamn Facebook or Instagram and Twitter is more powerful than CNN and the nightly news, and it's controlled by a few white boys who can look and say, well, I find this objectionable and that objectionable. So what are they doing, Brother Jabari? What social media is doing is they promote buffoonery. They promote clowning. They promote success based on clowning, buffoonery, and showing the crack of your behind. Now, I would hope that the leading social media influencers, or those that were influential, would just put some black in. That would help solve our problem. That the leading ones with 500,000 followers, 1,000,000 followers, whatever they're doing, would be committed enough to put some black in. Those are part of our diplomatic missions and the missions that we and that the new Black Panther Party is going to be engaging in, is to try to convince some of them that they need to adopt some of their program as our program. Push some of our stuff with their stuff before we have to play rough. See what I'm saying? We don't want to play rough right now. Just go in and just, as we build these militant groups, just go in and rap concerts, take the mic, go up on the stage, take the mic, smash the mic on the stage, just start fighting and throwing with the rappers, just going after something. We actually considered this in certain meetings where they just say, we're tired of this. We're going to go on the radio station. We're going to kick everybody's ass in the radio station. We're going to go to this concert. We're going to drag this Negro off stage. I mean, there's discussions going on. Yes, sir. Rather just be diplomatic about it. We got to have your social media back, folks. People like Sonetta. Sonetta, to me, he's helped out with the book. And so since he's got a social media following, that's productive. Your social media is productive. And you got clown social media. Some clowns in this town. Clown social media. It's just clowning all the time. Brother, I just do what I do. You know, I'm from the old school. Old school is like this. We don't rely as a basis on our communications on social media or by text. We see a black man live in person. We look at him, we feel him, we gain his spirit. We go meet him. You know, that's old school. Well, we met brothers, and that's how we recruited, by going. So right now, like for example, the new Black Panther Party, where I'm think I'm in Norfolk on the 20th. I'm in Charlotte on the 21st. I'm in Atlanta on the 15th of April. Atlanta on the 16th. I'm in Tallahassee on this book tour. And I'm walking with the new Black Panther Party. This is where we go at Saul. So while I'm on book tour, and after my book tour, I and the party go door to door, store to store in the Black community, meeting brothers, and I'm retraining them on the importance of not being on social media. I'm retraining them on the importance of meeting that human being, meeting that brother, and meeting that parent face to face and soul to soul and man to man. That's what we do on April 4th, Washington, D.C. We're just going person to person and coming off social media, coming off messages, coming off a bunch of texts and phone calls and trying to get to know our sisters and brothers. He said, it's coming over here, he told me, he said, well, the pandemic's been going and it's a lot, might not be so many people. I said, brother, we coming anyway. I say the reason why we coming is because we want to meet you. We want to meet you. We want to meet you, and we want to feel your spirit and see you live in person. I don't want to do a Zoom call. I want to come and see you and feel you, and I want you to feel me. There's some Negroes in this town that put out some terrible stuff on me. They try to say I'm an agent. Some Negro was going on the radio or somewhere. He said I'm a Asian or something. I was hoping he would be out here today. So what I'm saying is, I'm anxious to come here just so you can kind of get a feel of the person I am instead of hearing it from somebody else. You know what I mean? And I think that's what's missing today. I think even when our kids and our youth, they're on that computer all the time. They're not at that dinner table. You know, they're on that computer. Everything's about the computer instead of face-to-face interactions and feelings. So I'm hoping it'll get better, bro. But if not, we have to play rough. You willing to play rough?
Yes, sir.
Willing to play rough?
Yes, sir.
These people, these new Black Panthers are willing to, they are looking to just get into something that's really going to make social media. See, we can make social media, but it's going to be a new kind of social media. But it's going to be the social media of us kicking somebody's ass.
Yes, sir.
And unfortunately, it's going to have to be some of our own people.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here today. I've always been a big fan of Khallid. I followed him every time he lectured. I tried to be there. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you for doing it. And I being at this pandemic, and a lot of us in the Black community especially are contemplating whether to get the vaccine. What would be your advice for if Khallid was here today? What would you think he was
Gave me thought I had a little wiggle room. She said, what would Khallid Muhammad say? It's a tough question, though. It's a tough question. I just had a right-hand man of mine, Brother Leon Wood. He was in the hospital with COVID, and Leon almost died. They put Leon out of Howard Hospital. He went in with COVID. I guess his insurance was whatever. So after 10 days or so, they put him in the lot. I brought Brother Leon over my house with an oxygen machine. And I'm like, man, Leon's been sitting out there for like 12 hours. He ain't used the bathroom or nothing. And I better go see if he, you know what I'm saying? That's not right. And I kept trying to see if we want to wake up and use the bathroom. He wasn't really getting up, right? So I said, let's get him over here. And then he wasn't moving. And then I figured out that I had to call 911. I got him up out of my house. I said, oh no. I said, oh no. This ain't finna go down up in here. I ain't gonna be on the news. I'm calling 911 quick, Jack. They got Leon to the hospital. He was in there a couple of weeks. He had COVID and pneumonia. And luckily, I mean, he was on oxygen, and luckily he survived. But he was going to die there. His oxygen count was at 80. When they came with the 911, he was at 80, and he was supposed to be at 94. His stuff was dropping. Okay, so he asked me, do I need to take the vaccine, right? They say that Marvel and Hack supposedly died yesterday, and he died from a complication from taking the vaccine. There have been others we've seen that died or had complications got the Tuskegee experiments, and you got all the legitimate reasons that black people don't want to take vaccines because of what has happened to us, or things that we have proof that they're doing to us. So I would say that Khalid Muhammad would not recommend the vaccine. We know that Khalid Muhammad would not recommend the vaccine. I could not recommend the vaccine. You know, now I can't say to a Leon Wood or to somebody else, don't take it. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm not medically, I guess, I don't even want to be medically responsible. Matter of fact, I say it's an individual choice. That's right. I say it's an individual choice. I don't want to be medically responsible for telling you to take it or not take it. I'm not a doctor. I say it's an individual choice. The people that are talking against taking it have their points. I could see how somebody would see Marvin Hagler dying and say, well, I'm not taking the vaccine. Me personally, I'm not fooling with the goddamn vaccine. Straight up. That's just me. I'm not fooling with it because I feel like, look, I done made it thus far. My daughter had it for a couple of weeks. I took care of her with the face shield and the mask on, and I took care of Leon, and I had 7 COVID tests. I mean, I'm hoping I got the what they say, the type old blood or whatever it is. It's a lot to deal with. I say it's an individual choice. I got some people that swear up and down that there's no virus at all. That it's all a hoax. They say mask don't work. He said, take off that slave, bro. Take off that slave. They got you trained. They're training you for the New World Order. Have you heard that? So, man, to be honest, I try to stay out of the vaccine stuff. I'm not taking it. I'm not recommending anybody taking it. I'm not telling anybody to don't take it. I have certain workplaces where I know that, man, it's just, look, it's an individual choice. That's all I can tell you. It's an individual choice at this point. Individual choice. Yes.
2 questions. What's your relationship with Minister Khalid Abdul Muhammad's son, Rod Gray, and Brother Quanell X? I haven't seen not from them brothers, but I know they was part of the movement at one time.
Okay, that's a very good question. His son Fard has wrote the foreword to the book. Okay. He's written the foreword to the book, and we talk all the time. He's happy about the book. A lot of cross references. A lot of things that I wrote in the book, he was a great person to cross reference it because he was saying, that's right, that's right. So he was inspirational, and I'm hoping that the rest of his influence, social influence capacity can be brought to even further the book. I should be seeing him soon. So I'm hoping he's going to bring a lot more sales and international attention to the book. He's had some books that have spread all over the world. And so, this will take some time to get out, but I'm hoping that his contribution to it will help this book go further than ever before. He loves his dad. He's very happy that this has come out. So, I mean, at some point, if you see a documentary, don't be surprised. At some point, if you see a movie on it, don't be surprised. I think his book is, and Khalid Muhammad's story is worth such effort. Worth such effort. All right? I'm probably going to sign some in a minute. Quanell X. Quanell X is an interesting person. He's written about it in a couple of instances. I guess Quanell X gets his credit in the book for times that he stood with Khalid Muhammad. And then at another point, I had to kind of nail Quanell X because Khalid Muhammad would have wanted me to nail Quanell X with the truth because some things Quanell X does is not right. A black revolutionary cannot turn people into the police department. We don't work with police departments. There's no time you can come to Malik Shabazz and say that I'm going to get the crime solvers $2,000 or $4,000 award if I go get Willie Jones. If I go get Jamie Jones to confess, you tell me that I'm going to give you $10,000, Shabazz, Crime Stopper reward. But you got to go to the jail to get Jones to confess. Because Willie Jones actually murdered somebody in the black community, right? This is an important issue. But you know why I'm not going to go get Willie Jones to confess? Number one, because I don't have any relationship with any prosecutor, any police department. That's something Mr. X has done that we were against. Number two is everybody has a right to counsel. And even though it's horrific what Willie Jones may have done to Grandmama Jones in the community, if you teach Willie Jones to give up his right against self-incrimination and to start making confessions, and that starts happening around the black community, when we start giving up our Miranda rights and our rights to remain silent and giving up our Fifth Amendment rights because of somebody coming to us on a crime stop, that's going to be very bad for the whole population. It might help this one case, but for the whole population, it's terrible. It is absolutely terrible to convince our people to start making confessions to people who are out for crime stopping money. So that's one criticism that's on Mr. X in the book, because that is not something that Khalid Muhammad would have continued. And I think he did something else in the book, something else. I try not to get too many people, but I had to get a few of them. Cornell X went in the Jewish Holocaust Museum after Khalid Muhammad passed, and he went to a Texas Holocaust Museum, and he got in that museum in a boxcar, and he had his suit and bow tie on, and he started crying tears for the white Jews, saying he apologized for everything he had offended them, and that he apologized for all that he had said. And he was kissing up to the white Jews to get whatever he was trying to get. And so we couldn't allow that either. So we can't allow such things like that. You know, let me say this, my brother. I've said many things in my career that I can have an opportunity to take back. And many times there may have been some money on the table, or something that I needed on the table, or something where I could ease out of this black position, and I could be Mr. Civil Rights, and I could go over here, and like, for example, they had Cornell X was on the TV crying for a white man's son that had died. This is a white man he did a TV show with, and I saw the brother on TV. I mean, he was balled up crying. I mean, tears pouring down his face because the cracker's son had died. We don't give a damn if the cracker or his son died. We're not going to shed a goddamn tear on this. Now, somebody has to hold the line. You know, a lot of funny stuff. I'm not saying that I'm the perfect one to hold the line on everything that Khallid would have said or done, but I'm doing my best. You know what I mean? I can't necessarily duplicate his hardline stance on everything, but I'll be goddamn if you see me working with the police. You'll never see me working with no Crime Stopper. You'll never see me crying tears with no Jews. You'll never see me hooked up with no honkies. You know, these men is here, and they here with me today because they know that I'm here to hold the line in my own way. And so that's what's important about this book, brother. It's not picking on Cornell X. This book is called Hold the Line. This book is even talking to the Honorable, and I call him the Honorable, Minister Louis Farrakhan. It's telling him, hold the line, man. Because doing all the other things that you might have done in your career, some of them which adversely affected Khalid Muhammad, and then when you do other things other than holding the line, it hurts. When the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, a man we respect, when he gets close to Father Flager, right? Michael P. Flager, right? Father Flager is written about in the book, right? Flager is his brother. Flager is his buddy. He's even on tape kissing Father Flager. Yes, sir. Then Father Flager says 2 weeks ago, 3 or 4 black men say that he have been abusing them all of their life. Yes, sir. That he have been that years that he did this and he reached for this one's crotch and this one was abused and then he was partying with this one. No. This is not picking on somebody. What this is called pointing out the dangers of not holding the line. Leave these devils alone. That's Khalid Muhammad teaching us. Leave these devils alone because they are dirty by nature. The lessons say that the white man the devil is filthy in all of his affairs. Okay, Okay, so part of the struggle in the book, there's a struggle in this book, and there's a struggle to adhere to the core teachings of Elijah Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
That's what it is. A core teaching to hold to the principles of separation, reparations, against race mixing.
Yes, sir.
The use of armed force. There's certain principles at stake here, right? And one of the reasons why I was committed to writing this book is that forevermore, that everybody will know what the line is. Because if you don't know what the line is or the teaching is, you can change it. You got the book Judas and the Black Messiah. I love Brother Fred Hampton. Senior. Fred Hampton is my man. Fred Hampton gave his life for the cause. Fred Hampton's a revolutionary Black Panther. However, as Black nationalists, if we don't know what the line is, we will invite the white man right in this room here.
Yes, sir.
We'll invite Becky and Susie and Lizzie and Harry and Crackers right in this room. And I will be sitting up here, and Bob too, and I will be right up here saying, you know, we all got a common enemy, a common cause. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Would
Yes,
you
sir.
be comfortable if I invited a room full of white folks in here and start talking about we got a common cause against capitalism?
No, sir.
Would you accept that?
No, sir.
Some of y'all don't know. Only one or two of y'all saying those things. Some of y'all don't know. Meaning I could put it over on you. I could bring some white folks in here and tell you that they are friends against a common capitalist police system, and that we're all going to struggle together. You and Bob and white girl and all of us right here together, and we're going to build us a rainbow revolutionary coalition. Will you allow me to do that?
No, sir. 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 No, sir.
Will you?
No,
No, sir.
You might.
no.
All right. We have to, the point of knowing these stories is a compass and a barometer of what we're supposed to go for and what we can't go for.
It's the last question right here.
We got to sign some books.
Yes, sir. One beautiful lecture. I think is you are definitely the star student and pupil of Dr. Khallid Muhammad. I had a chance to meet and walk with Dr. Khallid in Norfolk, Virginia, and he always said that if anything happened to him or he went missing, that you will be the point person. You will always be connected to him. So it's an honor, and I definitely celebrate you and your ability to tell his story. I think that you speak about how he goes from LA to Chicago and becomes the Supreme Captain. When I met him in Reflection, he tells the story that he thought that certain entities in the Nation of Islam wanted him to separate from the post and the connection that he was having in LA to be closer for observation in Chicago. Because he also tells the story, or you told me, let me just pick me, that he was very successful with the Rolls Royce, with the boutique on Rodeo Drive. I think you outlined in the book about that period of time with his wife during that time in building of the boutique. Now, from your studies and research and contact, when he leaves LA and go to Chicago as a promotion to Supreme Captain, was it really a demotion? Because he felt like he felt conflicted about how that thing played out.
My brother, come on. First of all, it's a privilege to talk to a reader. And these are the kind of questions I'm expecting on the road, after it's been out for a while. But those are the kind of questions I expect, and I love that question. His question is when Khalid Abdul Muhammad was the regional leader of the Nation of Islam, whether or not he was promoted to Supreme Captain in 1984 to Chicago, whether that was a move because they really needed him as Supreme Captain, or was it a move to watch him and contain him because he was getting too strong? And that's the question.
That's the question.
That's the question. Okay. And don't block when I get an answer. Try to stand to the side. just block it. The answer, if it can be, brother, is no and yes. If you can give such an answer to the question, the answer is no and yes. The reason why the answer is no is that my research says that in the year 1984, when he was appointed and came to Chicago in June of '84, that this was a time when his services were most needed. The Nation of Islam had went from a kind of like a grassroots rebuilding campaign, and when it coupled with the Jesse Jackson campaign, and the big clash went on with Farrakhan and Jesse Jackson, and as a result, Louis Farrakhan's his presence skyrocketed, became attacked in the media, became attacked in the press. They were really going to kill Louis Farrakhan. The Jewish Defense League, the one I talked about with Irv Rubin, who Khallid hit in the jaw, they were not demonstrators. If you read the history of Meir Kahane and the Jewish Defense League, in the 1980s, they bombed their enemies. They planted car bombs. They assassinated people. They were the radicals. They weren't writing letters. They were trying to kill them. And so Khalid Abdul Muhammad was brought in to, he had already been working as a top defense man for Minister Farrakhan, but he was brought there to militarize the fruit of Islam and to prepare them to give their physical lives if anything happened to Louis Farrakhan. So when you hear that talk about that, if anything happens to Louis Farrakhan, we killing everything, white that ain't right, that's in sight. All of these are Khalid Muhammad's teachings. And this was the kind of drill that he put in me. I mean, I say it in the book, brother, that me meeting Khalid Muhammad was a key avenue to me supporting Minister Farrakhan. I mean, like, I was studying Malcolm, and they said, well, the nation killed Malcolm. And I said, well, let me hear Khalid Muhammad. So I started digging Muhammad. So I said, no, I'm with Khalid and Farrakhan. Okay. It was Khalid Muhammad. 5527. Look, you may have been like me. Khalid Muhammad put us in that mindset. In 1992, before Khalid Muhammad was suspended from the Nation of Islam, if you couldn't bet me if anything would have happened to Louis Farrakhan in my city, that white folks wouldn't have been there. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
I mean, down to the specific plans. Are you with me?
I'm with you.
I mean, down to the specific plan of what's going to happen out there on the streets. That's how much he convinced us. Okay, so the answer to your question is, on one hand, no. But there is truth to that they were saying that he's going to build his own following. Let's contain him that he's going to build his own following. That same allegation followed him throughout his career and eventually hurt him in his career with the Nation of Islam. Okay? Because he still always, due to his talent, due to his influence, due to his natural skills, was very attractive and influential. Therefore, he always was viewed as a possible contender. I have a whole chapter called Heir Apparent. Heir Apparent gives you all the reasons of why at the start of 1993 that Khalid Muhammad was considered the second most powerful man in the Nation of Islam. This causes Muhammad problems, though, because Muhammad's influence may have been solved in '84, but he still was influential in the years after. But in the years after, the Nation of Islam undergoes a change in ideology, a change in its position towards whites, a change in its position towards America. Khalid Muhammad, at the same time, being this influential, maintains a hard line on white people, maintains a hard line on America, maintains a hard line against race mixing. Therefore, due to Muhammad's influence, now he becomes a threat. Because the Nation of Islam wants him to do it another way. Louis Farrakhan wants him to do it another way. They want him to, as they say, be guided in another way. And there's some things that come up in his relationship with the Nation of Islam that he morally and ideologically will not agree with and cannot agree with. And so therefore, being influential becomes almost an albatross around his neck because it means that he got to be dealt with. He got to be dealt with. Ultimately, he was dealt with. Several ways. Ultimately, he was dealt with.
So let me ask you one more follow-up. And one I pre-ordered, already had the book. All right. So I was one of those fortunate people that had the foresight to pre-order the book. The other question is, and I'm not trying to, throw shade at the Nation of Islam, but Doc used to always talk about colorism, and not just his power and influence, but that there was an innate kind of undertone of colorism that existed in the organization that many don't speak about. But he seems to have an issue with that, and he cited examples of where the darker will be sacrificed for the light. Or is that me?
Now you heard him speak of this inside of the Nation of Islam?
No. This is a personal conversation.
Okay,
and I'm asking you, he said that there was colorism that existed in the Nation of Islam, and certain darker brothers were overlooked from posted positions because they were dark skinned. And I'm just trying to figure out, have you ever heard of anything around that subject being ever broached as relates to the organization itself?
That's a good question. All right, let's answer that question. The question is was there or is there colorism inside of the Nation of Islam? And was Khalid Muhammad affected by such colorism if it existed? Colorism in this sense means favoring the lighter black person over the darker black person. Now, in the book, I make an admission. I say that many people, you're still black, my brother. I make an admission that many people believe that Khalid Muhammad was suppressed in the Nation of Islam because he was too dark complexion. You believe that, right? You believe that?
This is what he told me.
You believe it?
Whether I believe it or not, I don't think
Do you find evidence of it? Do you find evidence?
Do I find evidence? Let me process that.
Okay, you said let me process it. Okay, so therefore in my book, I didn't reach it. In my book, I said that I didn't find direct evidence of it. So therefore, it's not something that I document in my book. I said that Muhammad was persecuted for the blackness of his doctrine, not the blackness of his complexion. But your argument is many people actually believe what you say. They believe it based on this. They will say that everybody in the top leadership is lighter or light skinned. They will say that the main man right now is Ishmael Muhammad. And Ishmael Muhammad is the main speaker, spokesman. Many say he's the outright successor to Louis Farrakhan. I say he's the successor to Louis Farrakhan. Ishmael is very light. Very light. Minister Louis Farrakhan, he's not a blue-black man. Not knocking him, but he's light. He's got waves and all of that, okay? Malcolm X wasn't blue-black. And Honorable Elijah Muhammad wasn't blue-black either. And Far Muhammad is not blue-black. So we have never had a solid black man over the Nation of Islam that was a solid dark-skinned black man. You have never had, other than Khalid Muhammad, a captain or a major figure in the Nation of Islam that was a straight-up dark-skinned black man that was over the top. I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, I'm not saying it's a design to it, but I'm just saying that's just how it is. You know what I mean? So therefore, I would say the blackness of Muhammad's doctrine, coupled with how just black he just looked, was a threat. He was just too black, too strong. He was too black, too strong, especially at a time when they're promoting a softer approach. You know, this is a time in Muhammad's career when Minister Farrakhan, well, at least when he was with the nation, Minister Farrakhan picked up the violin. That's in the book. Man. This is a kinder, gentler. And there's nothing about Khalid Muhammad that suggests kinder and gentler to white people. Right. So it's a combination of factors. It's the teaching, it's the look, it's the ideology, it's this overall too black, too strong thing that makes him makes him a persona non grata at some point in the nation. This cat's got to go. He's just too black. He's just too strong. Don't like white folks. He ain't playing no violin. He'll probably crush it to the ground if he didn't want it. Khalid Muhammad is bad news for anybody trying to make peace with white folks. Okay, because it's just not happening. I got a sign. I will give y'all my number. Y'all can text me. I'll be happy to answer more questions to you. I'll be doing more things online. Sure.
Oh, okay. So, two-part. One, him being a member of Mega Sci-Fi, how did he talk? I know you said that he didn't want you to talk about that necessarily. Mention that. How did he go about that explanation when asked about being Black Greek? Oftentimes those who are in the especially Divine Nine are consider themselves Black Greeks. How did he go about that? And also, I wanted you just to speak about his point of view on weapons training, and like specifically how did it?
Excellent. Okay. I think Khalid Muhammad's position on Greek letter organizations as he became a lecturer later in his life was just straightforward. That Greek civilization copied and stole from African civilization. And Greek civilization copied and stole from African civilization. Therefore, he didn't put much emphasis on him being an Omega because he knew that the differences between Omega and Kappa and Alpha and Sigma and others, that these were just superficial differences, and that if he chose one side over the other, if he identified himself as an Omega, that the brother or the sister who was a Kappa who really loved him, maybe just for fraternal reasons, wouldn't join in with him. And Khallid knew that the unity of the black man was much more important than identifying with the specific fraternity. Therefore, he de-emphasized it, and he emphasized the unity of all Greek letter organizations and so forth. He never really attacked it, although he taught that that Africa was the origin of all art, mathematics, religion, and science. And although he taught that Hippocrates was a hypocrite, he taught about Pythagoras the faggot and all of that. He still didn't beat on the fraternity members for being that, because one, he knew he was that, and that was a stage in development, and actually a good stage in development if properly understood. There's nothing wrong with a brother or sister that pledges Kappa Alpha Psi if they have a knowledge of self and learn how to use that for the advancement of our people. Khalid Muhammad was an Omega. He went through all of those rites of passage, but then he was a hell of a trainer of men once he got out of that, because he was using it for the liberation of our people. So that was pretty much his position. He didn't beat on the fraternities. He tried to unify and bring them over, and he was lenient because he recognized that he came from that experience too. And therefore, that marks another softer side of Khalid Muhammad, taking black people where they are and seeing where they can contribute rather than condemn. He was remarkably tolerant on blacks in Christianity. I mean, I used to be with him sometimes, and I'd be like, Malcolm X, Islam is black nationalism. That's what I believe in. Islam is black nationalism. Like, you sound like Malcolm X. You sound like Malcolm X. But yet he would, and then when I would start talking harsh against the Christian, he would check me a lot, because he would check me and keep showing me how the root of Christianity and Islam all go back to Africa, and that I shouldn't make a big difference between whether a black man or woman is in Islam or whether they're in Christianity. And he would give me a number of reasons. So he was soft on the black Christian because what he was trying to, he believed that that we could build a black or an African united front with those that believe in Christianity. He just believed in what? A black Lord, a black Jesus, a black Savior, not a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pale-skinned, buttermilk complexion, cracker Christ, as he taught. Okay, so that was his position on the fraternities. On the weapons training, this book is full of examples of how Khalid Muhammad would not comply with the Nation of Islam alleged restriction on weapons. I say alleged restriction on weapons because there's plenty of times when the Nation of Islam or some of their affiliates deviated from their own prohibition on weapons when they needed to carry something out against another black person, unfortunately. Sometimes some white folks too. You got the zebra killers.
Yes, sir.
I heard of the zebra killers.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but anyway. But the book has plenty of examples when Khalid Muhammad allegedly deviated. It has a section in here, chapter 10, heir apparent, and it talks about Khalid Muhammad and gang members. It talks about how Khalid Muhammad would get to the side with the rolling 60s and the other gang members, and they would all have their guns, and they would be carrying out their plans for actions such as holding Koreans accountable in the black community and preparing for war against the police. And, well, all of this is supposed to be against the Nation of Islam rules, which say no weapons. Yet I do document in the book how Khalid Muhammad has his own meetings. Now, we can debate that forever. The Nation of Islam will say, well, see, that's why he wasn't right. He wouldn't follow instructions. But those of us in this room respect Khalid Muhammad for doing it because we know that revolution requires armed struggle. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And we also know that when the Muslims need a gun, they get one too. Black power? Black power. Don't tell me no Nation of Islam does not have guns. The Nation of Islam have guns at the time and limited time of their choosing. Unfortunately, against blacks too many times. Black power? Black power. Khalid Muhammad was advocating that the Nation of Islam that the Nation of Islam, or some of them at least, be able to use arms for specific actions relating to the liberation struggle. That was his position. That's something that I respect him for. And that's something, the reason why we came around it, because we couldn't go with an all nonviolent teacher. We don't want an all nonviolent teacher. We don't believe that the whole problem is going to be handled by some snow. Although the snow is strong, the ice hits hard. Goddamn rain hits hard. Earthquake hit hard. I see some ships, some lights flying around at night in the sky, but they ain't done nothing yet, right? Black man wants something to give. Every black man has a right to defend his household and his family with armed force. Is that right?
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Matter of fact, you got a duty to defend your household and your elders and your family with armed force. Well-trained, well-disciplined armed force. So that's Muhammad's position, and Muhammad's position is the position of today. Today's youth and today's movement, if you tell them to be disarmed and to go without arms, you will not have a movement. If I would be bodacious enough to tell the new Black Panther Party for self-defense anywhere in the country that they must disarm, then they will overthrow me. They will be mandated to overthrow me right away, because that will just not be happening. Armed struggle and self-defense is the way to go. I'm not saying it's going to win the struggle, but it's damn sure going to prevent some losses. Black power? Black power. Respect all of you all. Any more? Final one? All right. Let me get a pen out. Sign some books. Thank you, great. Yeah.
Close out. You gonna say nothing to close out?
Yeah.
let me say this.
You got like a marker.
I want to make a couple of announcements. Can I make a couple of announcements? First of all, I want those who are watching, thank you so much. I want those who are watching and those who are here to find out how they can join the new Black Panther Party and the growing movement, Black Power movement around the country. I have Imam Akbar here, the national spokesman. Can you come here, sir?
Yes, sir.
On camera.
Yes, sir.
Wait 1 second. Go right ahead.
Family, we want to buy all the books that we can possibly buy here today. Brother Malik took time to come down here to Tubman City and spend time with us today. Let's buy one. If you got one already, buy one for your cousin or your friend, your mother. Let's buy as many books. Let's let them not leave with any book at all. And online, make sure. How much is the book?
$25.
The book is $25. Let's buy as many as we can. And online, let's buy as many as we can. You said we can go to Amazon, right? Go to Amazon. You got an audio book too now?
Ebook right now. Audiobooks coming. Okay. Brother Imam, come here. Sir. Okay. This is just look right here. This is Imam Akbar. You all know him well. But everybody around the country doesn't. Okay, so if you're interested in the new Black Panther Party and the Black Power movement that's developing around this country, and if you're interested in my book tour, which is combined with a walking community tour for Black Power and organizing tour with the Panther Party that Imam Akbar is touring with on, you can go to blackpanthermovement.org. Blackpanthermovement.org. And you can contact us, or you can inbox, DM me message me on Facebook. But we're looking in the new Black Panther Party is looking for leadership all over the country. I'm coming to Norfolk, Charlotte, Atlanta, Tallahassee, Tampa, Jacksonville, St. Petersburg, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm going all over the country, and I'm helping to rebuild the Panther Party with our brother Akbar, Captain Darrell, Sister Shamanda, and all of the great sisters and brothers. Black power to all of y'all. Got to build the Panther Party. And if you want to reach me, if you want the book, it's thebookofkhalid.com. Thebookofkhalid.com. And Attorney Shabazz, you can reach me at blackrightsmatter.org. That's the website for Black Lawyers for Justice, blackrightsmatter.org. I'm on a legal training tour and helping to fight police cases all over the country. All right. This is David right here. All right.
Family, let me officially close the event down online. Stay tuned to Reality Speaks. We got some great things coming. This is just something that we uploaded. We haven't uploaded anything in about maybe a year. So stay tuned. We got some great things going on. We're gonna rebuild this channel, and just stay tuned. Peace.
Want Harambe? Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Liberation coming from a long legacy of battle stars of freedom fighters. I acknowledge my duty, truth, justice.